Good afternoon. We are bringing you commentary of Swansea against Barnsley today from the Championship playoff semi-final second leg. I'm your alternative host, Russ Venn, alongside the alternative commentators, Jack Cunningham and Matt Iles. Hopefully you're all doing okay. You're listening to the commentary of. We'll bring you the game full to its conclusion, whether that's extra time and penalties. We'll bring you it all the way. Looking at to this one, then we'll bring in our co-commentator first of all. And Matt, very good evening to you, Matt. And Swansea won 1-0 away to Barnsley last Monday, and then now leading by a narrow scoreline. Do you feel Swansea can go through, or do you reckon Barnsley, after what they showed on Monday, have got what it takes to overturn this deficit this evening?
Yeah, good evening, Russ. Yeah, good evening, everybody listening along. And it's very close to call, isn't it? I think obviously Swansea were very defensive minded in their win on Monday night. I think the one thing that really made it good was the fact that Steve Cooper got his tactics absolutely spot on. Really nullified Barnsley well. He just sort of kept coming at them and did make life very, very difficult for them. They really put the pressure on, but they stuck together. They were disciplined. And they did what they had to do to get the result. And it was that one bit of real quality that saw Andre Ayew score that wonderful inside finish in the box. But this game around, 1-0 leads are always very difficult. We did nearly see Sunderland earlier, as you were commentating on, Russ, nearly defy the odds and get it over against Lincoln. But it's just how you keep your nerve. And obviously Barnsley know they've got to come to the Liberty. They've got to score. So they'll be pretty much full throttle. But for Swansea, I think, they do have a little bit of another gear to give in terms of their performances and to what they can play at, but it's very, very close to call, who's actually going to win this, because you could, in my eyes, see either side, not just win the game tonight, but go for overall.
Yes, and it's been a very interesting game. Barnsley have made a couple of changes and some interesting changes as well. No doubt DK tonight, he's been dropped to the bench. Adebayo comes in, as does Automoist for Dominic Freezer as well. Matt, do you feel that could be a difference today? Because DK on Monday didn't really get a look in at Oakwell. Do you reckon he'll get a look in? Do you reckon Adebayo will get a look in tonight and have more of an impact?
Yeah, it's a change of approach, isn't it? First and foremost from Valérien Ismaël, isn't it? I think, he's gone with Adebayo up front, and obviously Carlton Morris and Woodrow in a 3. Morris, as we know, is a big tool, big physical presence, but he's somebody who, can run in behind and, has the pace to use as well and to match his size. Adebayo is, just got the pace element to him. I think what they are almost trying to do as the approach changes, they're going to try and get in behind Swansea. With DK, yes, he's powerful. Yes, he's big. Yes, he does have pace. But, they did sort of keep him really, really quiet. And it was sort of just, they didn't really get the ball into him a little bit more. And, he didn't really play off the Swansea defenders in that first game. He almost played alongside them. So maybe with Adebayo, Morris coming into the team, it might just give that dynamic of, them trying to stretch the defence that Swansea have put out tonight.
Yes, and looking at Swansea then, match ahead of kick-off tonight as the teams get ready to come out of the Liberty Stadium as we were watching on. Looking at Swansea, 1-0 from the first leg. Ayew with that superb goal from that first leg. How much confidence do you reckon Steve Cooper and Swansea will take from that first leg into tonight's game?
Well, they'll take a lot of confidence, wouldn't they? I thought tactically Cooper got it absolutely spot on in terms of, how he dealt with Barnsley. They dropped, deeper, as Barnsley, as we know, like to go direct, and they dealt with that threat very, very well. But they'll be buoyed by confidence. They're a side who have the experience of these championship playoffs. They lost last year, so obviously that you think they're in better stead for it, but they're defensively pretty sound. I think out of the 4 sides before the playoffs began, they are probably the most defensive sound out of the 4 of them. But they're full of confidence. You've got Jamal Lowe, Andre Ayew, Routledge. You've got good ball players in the midfield, solid defenders, and Gurhey and Cabango, the goalie Woodman. There's a real good spine about Swansea, but they're going to be buoyed by confidence. But they'll know that Barnsley will be coming straight at them and trying to get on top of them. So it's just about how they manage the game, being holding the slenderest of leads.
Yes, it does. And Valérien Ismaël's done very, very well at Oakwell since he took over from Struble left Barnsley in his Barnsley side, captained by former Leeds man Alex Moa, just making the way out onto the field of play. Moa, very good influential midfielder in this Barnsley side. And Matt, what do you think he could do and create something? Do you think he could be a key man as well as Abeja and Colton Morris in this Barnsley side today?
I think he is the most important man in this Barnsley team. We've seen a real resurgence and a real sort of, rediscovery, if you like, for Alex Mowatt in football, and particularly with Barnsley. He's been a real focal point for them, real centrepiece. This could be tonight, funnily enough, his last game for Barnsley because he has had a contract at the end of June. So it is something that I think Barnsley, whenever they seem to play well, it seems to go through Mowatt and it seems to kind of go through Styles. But he's going to be somebody very, very important to them tonight at the Liberty Stadium.
Yes, that is the case. Swansea making their way out onto the field right now. So I'm going to hand over to your match commentary team of Matt Iles and first, Jack Cunningham.
Thank you, Russ. The Championship playoffs are always tense affairs with so much on the line for both teams. The clash between these two at Oakwell on Monday was no different, but it is Swansea City who head into the game with a slender advantage thanks to a goal from Andre Ayew and a sensational goalkeeping display from Freddie Woodman. The Swans are backed by a lively Welsh home crowd for the first time since early last year, so can they get the job done and seal a spot at Wembley against Brentford? Standing in the way of the league's surprise package, Barnsley, they will feel aggrieved that they didn't take anything from the last game, but know they are still in this one. If the Tykes do manage to overcome the Swans, then they will have the chance of reaching the Premier League for the first time since 1998. To try and take one step closer to the promised land, Valérien Ismaël has made 2 changes to his lineup for the first leg, and Barnsley line up like this. So in goal, Brad Collins, Mads Jewel Anderson, Michael Heilek, Tommy Sibic, Callum Styles, Romal Palmer, Alex Mowatt, Callum Britton, Cauley Woodrow, Carlton Morris, and Victor Adebojo. And for Swansea, obviously, meanwhile, Steve Cooper has made 1 change as he looks to get Swansea back into the Premier League for the first time since 2018. And Swansea line up as follows. So in goal is Freddie Woodman, Kyle Norton, Ben Cabango, Mark Aguirre, Jake Bidwell, Jay Fulton, Matt Grimes, Conor Hourihane, Andre Ayew, Jamal Lowe, and Wayne Routledge. So joining me for this one, I'm delighted to welcome the fantastic Matt Iles. And how are you doing, Matt? How do you see this one going?
Yeah, hi, Jack. I'm looking forward to this one. It's going to be an interesting game, isn't it? As sort of me and Russ were discussing just before, obviously, you took over on the commentary duties. But it's very interesting. I think Barnsley, certainly shouldn't be disheartened by their performance on Monday. It was encouraging enough. In their way was a pretty inspired Freddie Woodman and a solid Swansea defence. So, you're going to see a Barnsley reaction, no doubt, I think, in the early minutes. It's just about with Swansea, whether or not they're able to deal with the avalanche of Barnsley pressure in which they get so many men forward. It's just about how the Swans manage the game. If they're, prepared to be a little bit patient and just bide their time, wait for their chance, I think that could stand them in really good stead.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, if it's anything like the first 2 games we've had today in the playoffs, we're in for a treat, aren't we? Great, obviously, see fans back. It's an absolutely gorgeous day in Wales by the looks of it. Sun baking down, and we are about to get underway. It's going to be Barnsley kicking us from left to right. Not actually sure what the attendance is because it's 20% of the capacity. So what, maybe 4,000, 5,000, something like that. And we are about to get underway here. Swansea hold the lead, but Barnsley certainly will feel aggrieved to have not come into this game with at least a goal. And we're underway, and the ball is played back here, and it's instantly launched forward in the direction of Carlton Morris. This is Adebayo trying to get there, and it's smashed away into the air, and straight away, Barnsley. They're not afraid of going direct, are they? The Tykes.
No, exactly. And I think obviously with Carlton Morris, going out on that the right-hand side, if you like, that could be the out ball for them. They'll get it with the centre backs. I think it was Anderson that played the ball forward there. Carlton Morris isn't afraid to get up in the air and, have that battle with the defenders. And I think that could be quite interesting because I think maybe Barnsley might look to try and use him down that side at every possible opportunity for flick-ons or to get in behind.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like Cauley Woodrow, he did start on the wing on Monday, but at Oakwell, but it looks like he's now playing as the forward striker. This is Norton, straight away, the long throw forward. Comes out to Jay Fulton, who's been a pretty consistent player for the Swansea this season. That midfield 3, well, since Hourihane came in in January has really changed for the Swans.
No, exactly. And I think it's a midfield three that has a really nice balance. You don't often get three midfielders that are very different in a trio, do you? Horan has almost probably just projected and took Fulton and Grimes' games onto new levels. But, I think, with Grimes and Fulton, they're very consistent. They're good, hard-working players. They do the real hard-working sort of thing that you don't actually notice until you watch them very, very closely. So all three of them do complement each other in a very good way.
Yeah, and Grimes is also the club captain. This is Woodman with the ball forward in the direction of Jake Bidwell. Comes out to Cabango, who launches it forward, and it's going to be headed away by Britton. Not the best header, and Hourahan got onto it, and it looks like Jamal Lowe is playing as the striker. I mean, what a rise. Sorry, it is Wayne Routledge playing as the striker by the looks of it. Very, very experienced is Routledge. 36 now. Over 300 appearances for Swansea.
Yeah, 10 years, isn't it, Swansea this year for him? And he's a player. Yes, he might have lost his pace, and obviously he's had a bit of a mixed bag at Swansea over the last few years in terms of not really playing under a lot of managers. They might have maybe sort of that his age is kind of getting the best of him, and really sort of been a disadvantage for him being selected. But Steve Cooper's used him and utilised him as much as he can, and it's working out for both parties. This is
Adebayo trying to get through, but it's a good tackle in there, and Swansea clear the lines, but Barnsley already pushing men high up the field, as you would expect. And we saw Sunderland come back nearly. They came back from 2 goals down, but in the end, Lincoln did get through. So it is possible if they get a good early start, the Tykes. And it's going to be Britton to take this throw in. And it's back now with Britton. Easily past Lowe. Plays it inside. And it's cleared up towards Routledge. Should say that failed to score or provide an assist this season, Wayne Routledge, but he's probably going to be playing that lone striker role, probably more sort of maybe for his pressing rather than you can't imagine winning too many headers. Ball launched through by straight through by Collins to Woodman, who's had an absolutely fantastic season in his second year on loan from Newcastle United. Won the Championship Golden Glove and was unbelievable in the first leg.
Yeah, he's really improved, isn't he, his game since he's gone to Swansea. With Newcastle, I think they've really monitored him close. I mean, obviously, you've got Dubravka sort of in his middle 30s, Carl Darlow sort of, been a regular in sort of the first team fold. But, up and coming young goalkeepers, at Premier League clubs, they get that loan. And of course, he's been so important for Swans in a team that's pretty much looking to play his parent club in the Premier League next year, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting if they do go up. I would be very surprised if Swansea don't try and sign him permanently. Because in truth, I don't see him necessarily getting in the Newcastle team ahead of Dubravka. This is Britton, picks it up, plays it into Adebayo, who's got 2 goals all season. Picked up on a free as well. I'm going to be saying this a lot throughout the evening. If you look at Barnsley's transfer strategy, it's all most of their signings in this team are very, very young and are picked up for less than £1 million usually. It's a very interesting and successful transfer model they've got. And as you can see, they're a big threat from set pieces as well.
Yeah, very big threat from set pieces. Iles helped himself to some goals. Anderson, Simic, they're 3 targets you can really aim for. And obviously as well, you look up front, Morris, as I said, is a big guy that they can look to as well.
Ball played in here. Might drop for Woodman in the end, it does, yes. But straight away there is some huge targets in there. Offside flag goes up anyway, but we are just about 5 minutes in here. It's still Swansea City 0, Barnsley 0. Definitely say the away side have had the better start of the game. Yeah, but it's a ridiculously young team.
Yeah, just sort of referring back to that attack, Jack, he just sort of strays just slightly offside, doesn't he, Woodrow?
Yeah.
It's literally just a hand there. But Mowat with that ball in, it was low. He just really put the whip on it. And that's such a teasing ball in. It's so dangerous for defenders to deal with when you've got to obviously push that high line. Then you go back. It is so difficult to deal with that you've got to make sure that you just get all your angles covered and make sure that the attacking team don't have any runners to try and get ahead at goal.
Britton with the long throw up to Adebayo. Jamal Lowe flicks it forward. His Routledge onside. He picks it up, but Heilig comes across and smashes it away. 2 caps for Poland. Heilig, another one picked up last very cheaply from Cracovia. And as you said, I mean, he's made a really good impact in terms of goals. He's got 6 goals this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as you were talking about with their recruitment model, they kind of try to break the mold, don't they? Be completely different, be unique. We've seen it with sort of Ailic coming in. Of course, they brought a lot of players from sort of European leagues. Solbauer, Frieser have come from Austria. I think in sort of Gerhard Struber's reign. Ishmael, of course, has brought DK on loan from Orlando City. There's been absolute talent. So, it's a recruitment model that's really worked well. And for a club like Barnsley, who aren't the biggest in the world, no disrespect to them, they've almost got to be really, really smart because they're not going to be the pick of the bunch in the Championship. And it is a recruitment model, buying young players and trying to sell them on that, you really cannot fault. And it has proved effective for them over the last few years.
Yeah, that was cross from Adebayo there, just went all the way into the arms of Woodman. That's a good flick on, and Routledge is going to get there. Straight away, Swansea have been very, very direct so far in the open exchanges of this game. Yeah, every single time Woodman's going long, and they're trying to get him behind that way.
Yeah, they look at the pace, I think, of Routledge, Ayew and Lowe. In particular, Routledge is playing down the middle of the three, as you mentioned, and they know with the Barnsley back three that each of them will probably look to assign themselves a target, wouldn't they, in that Barnsley three? Whoever picks Ayew up, Lowe or Routledge up, it is a case just to watch out and just make sure that you don't leave enough space in behind, because if that ball gets played long, 9 times out of 10, those three players will race onto the ball.
That was a very lazy touch out by Lowe. Give Bidwell no chance. There's another throw-in. All of the action's been down on this near side so far. This is Bidwell forward into Routledge. Brings it down on his chest. Flicks it round the corner. Now Lowe can stretch his legs. He's got Sibic for company. He's a big, powerful man, isn't he, Sibic? He turns 22 tomorrow. But he's certainly filled out, and he's given away a free kick there. Pretty cheap, really. No, Lowe was going nowhere. And it's a chance for Swansea to get some men in the box. I mean, he miscontrolled it, Lowe, to be fair, and then Yeah,
I don't think Sibic really needs to make that foul. Jamal Lowe's right in the corner, right on the sort of touchline, right near the corner flag. He doesn't need to make that, and it's put him in a position where, they've got to do a bit of defending from this set piece, and it just, is a silly, unnecessary challenge that he's made there.
And Houhan, well, we've seen when he's in his time at Villa and Barnsley, he's got a wand of a left foot when he wants to from these sort of set-piece positions. So Houhan, this time he sort of floats it towards the back post, punched away by Collins. Might drop here for Grimes. He hooks it back in. Ayew there? Collins, I thought he was going to punch it there, but in the end he grabs it. The former man signed from Chelsea, Chelsea's youth team. He's been in competition with Walton for the number 1 spot, but at the moment he is the favoured choice, and he delivers it long out of his hands towards Morris. He got some real distance on that kick. That's going to be picked up by Callum Stiles. Stiles tries to work it into Adebayo, but it's intercepted well, and away come Swansea. That's the first time I've seen Ayew on the ball, and he's fouled instantly. He's definitely a Premier League player playing in the Championship, Ayew. I mean, he's got 16 goals this season in his second spell with Swansea, but his Premier League record, really good goal-scoring record, so he definitely belongs on a higher level.
Yeah, and I think there was a lot of questions about his character in general, wasn't it? Whether his heart was really, at Swansea. And I mean, obviously, Graham Potter loaned him out to Fenerbahce in Turkey. Steve Cooper's identified him as a key player, sort of made him the real sort of talisman of this team, the real figure that's, to spearhead them, not just in attack, but for the whole team. And it's just worked out so well for all involved. And, he has been a real key asset for them this season. I think one of the small things as to why Swansea have been very successful in finishing once again in the playoffs positions in the Championship.
Stiles just manages to lose out, and this is a great ball forward by Bidwell, and Jamal Lowe's in a race with Sibic, and he gets past Sibic, and I thought it was going to deflect through for Routledge, but Barnsley get away with it, and Stiles has come across, and in the end, Ayew's forced him out for a throw, and Ayew's getting the Liberty Stadium going.
Yeah, it was really, really good ball through to Jamal Lowe. It just takes away Toby Sibic, and that just, he gets away from him, but Alick just sweeps up and just hits the, as he goes in with the challenge against Jamal Lowe there. But that was, quite impressive. Jamal Lowe, as we know, if you get the ball in front of him, he will run. And 9 times out of 10, if he gets past you as a defender, he's got a shot on goal. But good defensive covering there by Michael Alick. Yeah,
all came from that brilliant ball by Bidwell, who's a very experienced Championship player, nearly 300 Championship appearances for the likes of QPR, Brentford. And he's had a really strong season for Swansea. I think it's 8 assists so far from that left-back position. And you can see with sort of clever passes like that. This is a great battle in here by Grimes, who's nicked it off Stiles. Needs some help in a white shirt. Manages to force it back towards... Well, in the end, he did manage to force it back towards Carl Norton, but it's going to be a Barnsley throw. And we're just about 11 minutes in here. So Swansea 0, Barnsley 0. No real chances, but pretty high stakes competitive action as you would expect from a playoff semi-final. And there's Steve Cooper there, who, well, he was linked with the soon-to-be vacant Crystal Palace job, and it'd be interesting to see if Swansea didn't get promoted, if he was keen on that one. This is Adebayo trying to take on 4 or 5 men, trying to just bundle his way through, and in the end, Carl Norton and Cabango get rid of it. But he's a bit unorthodox there, Adebayo, just sort of bumbled his way through. Styles, I thought he managed to keep it in play, but he hadn't, and it's going to be thrown into the Swans.
I think the only things I can say about this game in sort of 11 and a half minutes is that there's a real sort of willingness to try and get the ball back. They're really being quite aggressive, especially down in those sort of wide areas of the pitch. You've seen it with Barnsley, especially down the right, where Styles is sort of really, nibbling away at the, Swansea players down that side. And it's the same with Swansea when Barnsley go and attack down their right-hand side. They're getting men from the midfield to just come across, make life difficult and completely compact the space and make it condensed and make it tight in there. And at the moment, both sides just can't seem to quite shake it off going forward.
Yeah. Oh, Woodrow here. He's fouled Cabango off the ball. I mean, I think he's trying to claim that Cabango just lost it in the sun, but yeah, he has a clear look at him and he gives him a slight shove, and that's a pretty easy decision for the referee on that occasion.
Yeah, he just keeps his eyes on the ball, doesn't he, Cauley Woodrow, just for a little bit, but then obviously he's just trying to fend off Cabango, but yeah, he does turn around to almost give him a little push in the face. It was very, very clever there, but obviously it was not clever enough.
Here's Alex Mowat. That's a clever ball into Carlton Morris, who tries to turn, but he's instantly swarmed upon by 3 white shirts who get rid of it. And yeah, I mean, so far, I have to say, maybe the likes of Mowat not got on the ball much for Barnsley. We haven't seen any of for Barnsley. We haven't seen any of IU. We've seen none of Cauley Woodrow so far. So I think maybe all of the main threats in the game, as of yet, haven't really been able to get the ball.
No, they haven't. It hasn't really been a game for the midfielders, has it? They've not really been able to get the ball, play some crisp passes, and kind of have their say in this game and try and influence it as much as we know they can for their respective sides.
Norton gets some good purchase on his throw, but Anderson comes flying over the top and gets rid of it. Then Adebayo makes a nuisance of himself and manages to force it out to Woodrow, and he just gives it away. And you can see he's upset with himself there. Cauley Woodrow sets high standards of himself. And obviously, whoever wins this will play Brentford a week's time. Ball played through by Routledge in the direction of IU, but he hasn't got quite the pace to get on the end of that one. And Collins launches it long. It's kept in by Styles. And Anderson comes flying over the top. Gets some real purchase on his header, but straight out of play. I mean, ball's barely been in play this game so far. This is Carl Norton into Grimes. Barnsley pressing Norton. He needs some help. He's got 4 or 5 men around him, and this is what Barnsley do. They've nicked the ball high up the field through Alex Mowat. Mowat's crosses way too much, but it's going to be picked up by Britton. Britton now swings one in, and that's gone straight out of play for a goal kick. See, that was the example of what Barnsley is so good at there. They're pressing high up and winning it, but then the quality just wasn't there from Mowat, was it?
Yeah, it was really clever play from, I can't remember who the Barnsley player was. It was right behind Kyle Norton. And they just know that they just don't want to foul him. Just literally stand up, wait for the other players to surround him and make it difficult, as I was sort of alluding to earlier. It's down that left-hand side where they're pressing. They break away with it really well. Mowat's ball in. He kind of rushes it, looks up, really overswings it for me. And then Britton's cross, he just kind of tries to wrap his foot too much round it. And obviously the whip has sort of seen the ball go out of play. And even though it did still stay in play, but that's what Barnsley can do, and that's sort of what's been one of their real trademarks this season.
Headed forward by Bidwell. Hourihane can't get there. Woodrow beaten to it by Cabango. Grimes wins that header. Palmer goes up. I think who stayed down there? We've got a Swansea player down.
Yeah,
and that is a head injury to Hourihane. It's been an inspired signing, to be fair, from Aston Villa. He got 4 goals in his first 5 games. Got 5 overall, so not quite on the scoring streak, but he scored some really important goals that kept Swansea's momentum going. And for a moment in the season, it did look like they were going to get automatic promotion, but they did fall away towards the end.
Yeah, they did. And I think obviously when you get to January, and you're pushing the top 2 or you're trying to push for promotion, you need that signing to kind of take you to the extra level. And I think Hourihane has just been exactly that. He's not been playing at Villa, and of course, competition there with Sanson arriving, it's just kind of made life for him a bit more difficult. But he's come into Swansea, and it's been a move that has been absolutely superb for everyone involved. And now, as you said, he's a real big game player. He scored some important goals. I think he got one against Watford at the start of the new year from a free kick. As you mentioned, 4 and 5. What a signing it was at the time. And yes, the goals might have dried up, but his contribution has still been massively important for the Swans.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously he's well accustomed to the Barnsley players. Just came up there, 134 appearances, 31 goals in his time at Oakwell. And then he moved to Villa. And, at Villa, I always thought he was a player who, for what they were last season, Villa, when they were battling relegation, he was ideal. But maybe what they wanted to become this season, you can see why he ended up going out on loan in the end, because he just wasn't getting the game time. But he made some really important contributions for Villa in the restart last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think obviously as well, he's a player, and like most players now these days, they want to be playing, don't they? They don't just want to be sort of sitting around and just waiting for the opportunity to play. If you're going to get regular football and it means you're happy to drop down a division, then so be it. And Horahan has, completely embraced that. And, it's been superb for him and superb for Swansea that he's made, as I said, a big contribution since he arrived.
Ball launched into the air, flicked on well by Morris, but Adebayo can't get there. And it'll be a throw in to Swansea. Interesting to see on the goal kicks when Woodman takes them. Bidwell is always way up the pitch. He's practically playing as a winger when Woodman takes the goal kicks.
Yeah, that is a very interesting thing. Jake Bidwell's very dynamic, very direct.
Jamal Lowe slips in, Andre Ayew, and Collins just gets there ahead of Ayew, but that is what Swansea can do. Just in a moment like that, Routledge, Lowe and Ayew nearly combining to open the scoring. It was a flick on there. Routledge slips in Lowe, and then just a bit too much from Lowe to Ayew.
Yeah, it was Sibic with the poor header originally. It kind of opened the door for Swansea. It slipped through to Ayew, just a little bit too much on it, but good goalkeeping from Brad Collins. He was alive and alert to come out and deal with the danger. Yes, he didn't quite take it first off, but obviously, luckily for him, there was no one on the rebound for him to worry about the shot from.
No, this is going to be a throw-in here to the Tykes, with Britton looking to wind one up and launch it long, which looks like all the centre-backs are forward. It's played in short in the end, and Ayew completes the clearance up to Routledge, but he's swarmed upon by Callum Styles. Styles driving forward, but Routledge gets back at him, uses his... He's maybe not as quick as he was, but he's still certainly quite quick for a 36-year-old. This is Horahan, and Jamal Lowe wants it played out to him, and he's going to get to him. He's going to have to stretch. It was a good idea from the Swans. Just a bit too much on the ball for Lowe by Carl Norton there.
Yeah, it was. And I think that's what Swansea are looking to maybe do with Barnsley, sort of getting the men right up the pitch because they play the high line on the defensive front. They're going to look to try and pounce on any sort of errors, whether it's a bad header, a bad pass, or Swansea just genuinely win the ball. They're going to be looking to do that, trying to hit Barnsley and the Tykes on the break. And that was a good example there. It was just an overhit ball by Norton to Lowe. But that is something that Barnsley will have to be very, very wary of.
Well, especially because this front three that Barnsley playing are essentially forwards. None of them are playing as wingers. They're all very, very narrow. That's a good header by Jay Fulton. And Barnsley creep further forward. And, well, their last throw from this side didn't work too well. Looked like we're going to go for the long one. He might go for the long one this time.
Well, they're kind of embraced for it, aren't they? And I think, obviously, Swansea, as we know, they did kind of maybe struggle in that first game at times, dealing with long throws. So it's interesting to see how they do with this one, because I wouldn't expect him to go short again. I'll be amazed if he does.
Britton launches it in this time. It's flicked away at the front post. It's probably going to be a corner. It is indeed. Cabango climbing high. Incredible that the two Swansea centre-backs are both 20. It's just showing such, faith in youth. And Cabango's a full Welsh international now. And obviously, Gahey is on loan from Chelsea. But they've both played a lot of games this season. There's absolute carnage around Freddie Woodman. And he's not the tallest goalkeeper, Woodman. So this maybe is an area that Barnsley have targeted.
It's as you mentioned, Jack. Look at it. Morris, you've got Anderson, you've also got Ellick right in front of the next few yards of Freddie Woodman. Then there's three Swansea players there, man marking them. So they do know Barnsley that maybe they could try and test Woodman from this.
Mawas is going to have to launch this one onto Woodman's head. Mawa takes it low instead, and it's clever set-piece routine at the end, but made no contact with the ball, and Routledge clears. And you know what happens with them set piece routines. Once you've done it once, you're not going to be able to do it again. Jamal Lowe gets away from Palmer here. Lowe driving forward. He's got Hourahan up with him and he just missed his kick. And away comes Palmer.
Yeah, good bit of
And Lowe
redemption there
gets
by
back, and that's a
Rommel
bad
Palmer
tackle
there.
from Lowe in the end. Yeah, it was a good redemption.
But that's what Jamal Lowe is just so good at. When he gets the ball into him, he's just persistent now. He doesn't give up. And then he even slips and still kicks the ball at his feet. Just on that occasion, it just sort of went away from him, didn't it? Just sort of kicked it away. But, Rommel Palmer did really well just to stay alongside him and make sure that he was going to try and win the ball back. And he did exactly that. It was really good midfield play by the Barnsley man.
But he's had an absolute rise, hasn't he, Jamal Lowe? I mean, from non-league, National League South, ball played in here, headed away. And we're going to have an offside flag. But yeah, Jamal Lowe, rise through the ranks, Hampton and Richmond, Hemel Hempstead to Portsmouth to Wigan, and now 13 goals for Swansea, potentially going to be in the Premier League next year. He's got a full cap for Jamaica. He scored in his debut as well. So it's just been, incredible rise from where he started out.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind for him, hasn't it? He's a really exciting player. When I watch Swansea, Jamal Lowe is someone that I always try and keep an eye on because he's so very, very good. He's very switched on, very intelligent. He's always forward thinking. And, I think when players always have that ability, they can really stand out. And he does. He's always got his eyes, thinking about scoring goals and thinking about making that run. And here's somebody that has been a real positive bit of business this season for the Swans in terms of them sort of maybe going up a few extra levels.
This is back with Woodman. We're about 23 minutes in now. It's still Swansea 0, Barnsley 0. And it will be, as it stands, Swansea who play Brentford for the right to play in the Premier League next season. That's some good battle in there from Hourahan and Bidwell. And they managed to get it out to Routledge. Routledge needs some help. In the end, we decided to throw in. But yeah, that was sort of that pressing that you were talking about before, wasn't it? From both teams.
Yes, and Barnes haven't really done that in their own defensive area, but yeah, that was an example there of just limiting Swansea just to stay to that side and not get out of the situation they found themselves in.
Grimes back to Gahey, and he goes all the way back to Freddie Woodman, who first time thumps it down the ground, and there's no one in a white shirt there. It's going to be an easy one to deal with for Sibic. He pings it forward over the head of everyone. It might drop for Morris here. Morris wins the flick on, but Adebayo's not that quick.
No, and I think what Barnes is sort of just maybe missing at the moment is, yes, they're going a bit direct, but they haven't really gone down the middle. That's the first time of note that I can remember that they've looked to Cauley Woodrow. And I think if you can try and almost do that, maybe, whereas you were talking about the front three being narrow of Adebayo, Morris and Woodrow, if one of them could get the flick on, that gets Adebayo going because he's the fastest at the three of them. So maybe, Ishmael, when it comes to being direct and playing it long toward the front three, you get Morris and Woodrow tuck it in, going more central to get flick-ons to try and get Adebayo in behind. And so far, hasn't really come off for the Tykes.
No, not as of yet. You can just see how much of the high stakes are for the game because both teams can barely get hold of the ball really or keep it. And, it's obviously the occasion. It's also the way, Barnsley like playing the direct and style of football, don't they? This is Britain with the ball forward and continues to edge further and further forward here. Jamal Lowe wanted a foul, but he's not going to get a foul for that. Britain with a clever throw down into Adebayo, trying to take on Jamal Lowe. Lowe's done brilliantly there, and the Swansea fans will appreciate that from their winger. And Bidwell completes the clearance over the head of Sibic, going to drop through for Hilek. He's tackled by Ayew. He's managed to get away with it just about, but he has fouled his man in the process. And that is the danger that Barnsley have.
Yeah, Swansea kind of matching Barnes, aren't they? They're saying, if you're going to go out and try and win the ball back quickly, we're going to do the same. Ellick did really well to sort of win it off of Andre Ayew, I think it was, just over there. And then obviously, he just saw him come in there and then he lost it out. Ayew did really well to nick it off. And then Routledge came in and you think Ellick's just done enough. But, then he turned round. He saw Routledge really sort of get in toward him, hunting him down, and he fouled him. And it was an easy free kick to give.
Yeah, Norton with the ball forward. Another very, very experienced player is Carl Norton. 6 years at Swansea. Played pretty much in the Premier League for most of them as well. So there's plenty of pedigree in this Swansea team. We have the long throw again by Norton. Headed away by Anderson. Flicked on. Woodrow hits the floor, but play continues through Adebayo. Adebayo still going, and then Norton smashes it away. Picked up in the midfield and played out to Britton. He's got a bit of space here, and there's 4 Barnsley men in the box, and his cross is straight into the arms of Freddie Woodman. That was an opportunity there because there was no shortage of men in the box for Britton to aim at, but it was a bit too floated, wasn't it? And it was just always going into Woodman's hands.
Yeah, Callum Britton is somebody who likes to put the cross in, doesn't he? I remember watching him for MK Dons when they were, well, they obviously still are in League One, and he's very much likes to get up and down that right-hand flank as the right wing back or the right back, from what he has been in his career. And his balls in are usually pretty spot on, but that one, as you said, it was just too floated and too central and pretty straightforward for Freddie Woodman. He'll be hoping that he gets catches like that for the rest of the game.
Yeah, Routledge trying to play it through for Andre Ayew, but he knew he was offside, and Styles plays it up to Cauley Woodrow, and that's going to go through to Mark Gahey, who plays it into Woodman, and he finds Bidwell now. Bidwell, ball down the line, seeking out Jamal Lowe, headed away comfortably by Helik, and then tackled there, and Barnsley will have a throw. Should mention that Barnsley, well, they haven't actually beaten Swansea since 2006 in the League One playoff final in a 2-2 draw and then they won on penalties. And then if you want to go back to the last time that you won at Swansea, 1974. So the history certainly against them. Alex Mowatt there. Certainly seen not enough of him as of yet from a Barnsley perspective. This is Carl Norton into Ayew, who obviously got the crucial goal, and at the moment the only goal of the tie. That's great pressing by Barnsley, and away comes Morris. Morris driving forward, trying to get past Grimes. Needs some support in the red shirts there, Morris, but Grimes does absolutely brilliantly, and Ayew's there to cover, and then he pings an excellent ball into Routledge, but he can't keep it, and it's back with the Tykes through Styles. Styles whips it in, goes over the head of everyone, and it comes to Hourihane, who clears in the direction of Routledge. He's going to give chase, but it's going to be Collins to come out and deal with it. He thumps it down the ground, headed away by Bidwell, flicked on by Hourihane. Fulton wins it, picked up by Jamal Lowe now. Lovely feat by Jamal Lowe, who then just thumps it away. But I mean, there Morris had a chance, but Grimes stuck to his task brilliantly, and it was also, brilliant to see Ayew tracking back and covering for his captain.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I sort of mentioned during the pre-show when I was obviously speaking with Russ that Barnsley love to get men forward. They love to just plough them on. And I think Swansea know that they've got to get the numbers and the resources back to withstand what Barnsley are going to try and throw at them going forward.
This is Britton looking to take on Lowe, but he plays it back to Sibic, who sends in a low one. Cleared. Comes out to Palmer. Barnsley certainly starting to get a bit more of the ball now. Just about half an hour in. Still Swansea City 0. Barnsley 0. Ball slipped through, but Cabango clears. One high up the field once again. It's Morris into Styles. Styles to Morris. His touch just got away from him. And then he's fouled his man in the process as well. That was a good opportunity for Barnsley. If he took a better touch, he would have most definitely had a goal.
Yeah, he was set up really well, wasn't he, Carlton Morrison? I don't know if he actually expects it, to be honest. It's really good chasing by Cauley Woodrow. Just cannons off him via Cabango's clearance, and Styles gives it to Morris. Then he gets it back, and Morris really doesn't turn into it. He's almost just facing too straight at the goal. If he turned his body into it, he would have had a better touch, because that's a real missed opportunity. But Mark Gurley just stepped in, wins a free kick. Good defending to sort of stay alongside Morris. But if Morris had been a bit more switched on and had the right position to open up and get the shot away, I think that might have been a goal, or even they would have got Freddie Woodman working in the goal.
Yeah, because half an hour in, and neither goalkeepers had anything to do really, apart from Collins had to race out to beat Ayew to a potential through ball. But the goalkeepers have had very little to do. And I think you look at that, and I think Morris would be disappointed that he didn't take a better touch.
I think the one thing that's very striking at the moment is you can sense a lot of tension in those players.
Yeah, definitely. You can.
The passing's not really been there. There's a lot of nerves, a lot of anxiety. Playoff games, there's so much on it. It's just huge stakes, isn't it? You don't want to lose. And with it being such a narrow margin, 1-0, with sort of a game and a half being played a game in 30 minutes, it is just that feeling of, you don't want to just make mistakes. So it's that real cagey feel.
Oh, Jamal Lewis got back at him. It's picked up by Palmer. Palmer, I thought he was going to shoot. Instead, he sort of clips one in, but Mark Gahey gets there ahead of him and gets out there ahead of his man, and Swansea clear the ball. But it's back with Styles. Styles into Morris. Morris sends one in. Woodrow can't get there. Gahey again. Excellent defending in the last few minutes from the young Chelsea man.
Yeah, it's really good defending. Stuck to his task really well, which is obviously just to keep a watching eye on Cauley Woodrow. Just stepped in there, made a vital clearance to clear it for a throw.
Ball whipped in now, headed away again by that man, Gahey. He picks up, this is Morris into Styles. Styles trying to swing it in and it hits off Norton, but Barnsley up in the tempo a bit here, certainly trying to get more crosses into the box. And as we said, they've got at least 3 men in there every single time. This is Styles. Styles looking to go on the outside, drills it in at the back post. Way too much on that, and then that's going to run out play for a Swansea throw. That's the one thing I would say, though, from a Barnsley perspective so far. When the crosses have come in, a lot of them have been overhit.
Yeah, absolutely. Styles put that ball in. He was looking for the pole, wasn't he? Miguel Halick. And to be fair, Jake Bidwell just does really well, just stands him up. He knows he's not going to win the header because it's a complete height mismatch, but he just thinks in his head, if I just stand right in front of him, basically not allow him to move, to try and get the flick on toward goal, then I've done my job. And he did exactly that. But yeah, as you said, really poor delivery from Callum Styles and Barnsley in general in this first half.
Yeah. Palmer finds Woodrow. This is a bit better now. This is now Moat. He can slip in Styles, but he didn't see him. And away comes Swansea through Routledge. Although they give it away again. It's that high pressing it's hard to get out of. And I have to say, if Barnsley did come out of the Premier League, it would be interesting to see how they did. Especially certainly playing this style. Halick whips it in over the head of everyone. And it's going to be Woodman's ball. It really is a lovely afternoon, isn't it? And Swansea, the sun's baking down on the players. And Woodman gets us underway. Pings it forward in the direction of Jamal Lowe, but over his head. And the Tykes regain the ball. I'm not sure the Liberty crowd would be too happy with their side's performance.
No, I don't. As I said, Swansea in the first game, from the attacking point of view, didn't really hurt Barnes enough. But the most decisive thing was he obviously scored that goal from Andre Ayew, showing his quality even more from the Ghanaian. But in this game, you still feel with Swansea, they've got a little bit more to give. Yes, they hold the advantage, and you can sense that they are quite happy to sit on the 1-0 in this game currently being 0-0. But there is still a part you think they've got a little bit more to give. Ayew, Lowe, and Routledge have done a lot of chasing, but they've not been rewarded for that. It's just no ball really into them, no ball to run off in to go and get. It's been a real disappointing first half attacking wise, but I think defensively you could say it's a complete contrast because they've shut Barnsley out very, very well.
Defensively they've dealt with the back four has been very solid so far. Woodman tries to find Norton, does find Norton. Norton with the first time ball into Ayew, who's clattered by Anderson, and that is going to be a free kick, and the Dane has been waved over, and this could be the first booking of the game.
Yeah, it was a ball down the line.
His badge has fallen off.
Well, it was
the EFL badge. That is some shoddy.
Yeah, as you rightly said, the badge was obviously getting off his shirt, but you could just see the ball goes into him, and I don't actually think Anderson needs to go and make that challenge. I think just stand off. He's well away from the goal. He's just on the halfway line, and he does take him out, and Ayew's obviously sent tumbling into the advertising hoarding on that right-hand side. But it's, again, something maybe you don't need to necessarily do. Yes, you've got to be really tight to your man, but just maybe stand up right behind him. Don't just try and think about jumping into the challenge. But luckily, it didn't come of anything, and he was well away from Barnsley's goal to even, think about a chance of even being created.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I mean, it was just a bit of a daft challenge, really. There's no need for it. I mean, Ayew is going literally nowhere, but it didn't end up in a booking for him, so you'll feel pretty relieved, I would say. Collins with the ball forward, headed away this time again, and Barnes ever thrown on this left-hand side, which Styles, the wingback of Teku, signed him in 2018 from the now extinct Bury. And he's been brilliant this season. 4 goals, 4 assists from that position. He's played in 5 different positions as well. So he's been an excellent sign. It's just, again, we'll keep saying it, but it's just that recruitment model, isn't it? It's so good, and they pick up such good players while Hourihan is down. Once again, he's been in the wars in this first half. It's a big challenge from Moat.
Yeah, it was him and Moat both obviously competing for the ball in the air, and it's a fair challenge, isn't it? That's what you want. 2 players fully committed, trying to win the ball. He just catches him, doesn't he? Nothing intended as a complete accident, and he does look like he's all right. So no need to extra treatment or attention from the medical staff.
No, he's absolutely fine to continue. But them midfielders have basically just been fighting and winning aerial balls, haven't they? It's been a proper dual, gritty stuff, as you would expect from a playoff. That's a great flick on by Helik, who slips in towards Woodrow, and Woodman comes out and deals with it. I think he was caught, but looks like he's going to be fine. But that was better from Barnsley. I mean, suddenly the centre-back came wandering forward and won a great flick on, and they nearly got in.
Yeah, it was Britton who slipped it through, looking for Cooley Woodrow, and it's just a little bit away. But Freddie Woodman, we spoke about Collins when he just closed down the chance for Jamal Lowe sort of minutes before, minutes ago, and it was that opportunity for Woodrow there. The goalie very, very quick off his line to get down low and to stop him getting a shot at goal.
Routledge did absolutely fantastically there. It was a lost cause. He was battling away. The big Paul Helik was all over him. And in the end, he's won aside a free kick when it looked like it would have been a throw-in to Barnsley, if anything. But he managed to turn that from nothing into a potentially promising situation for the Swans. And, you could see what the Liberty crowd thought of that one from there.
He just didn't let go, did he, Michael Helik? He just didn't let go. And I think, obviously, Routledge just knows that I've just got to win a free kick. Don't let him, out-muscle me and, get the ball away from me and win it cleanly and get up the pitch. It was just so important that he just kept going at him, kept being tenacious and kept being determined to win a free kick. And it was really, really good play from him.
Yeah, Hourihan's first ball, it wasn't amazing. See what this one is. That one's a bit more whip on it. It's punched away by Collins. Fulton out to Grimes, who skips inside one. Grimes! Oh, what an absolutely stunning goal that is by Matt Grimes. The captain has put 1 foot in the final for his team. It was a beautiful finish. He sold the dummy and then he bent an absolutely gorgeous effort into the top corner. And it is Swansea City 1, Barnsley 0. And Barnsley have a huge uphill task now.
Very similar to Monday night, isn't it? Where Swansea weren't really a force going forward, but they just had that one moment of real serious quality come from. It was Io on Monday, but now it's Matt Grimes, the captain. And what a goal it is. Brilliant footwork to set the chance up. Hourihan put a ball in. It was a dangerous one for Collins to deal with, which he did well. It was headed across by Fulton to Grimes. And he knows when he's right on the edge of the box, if he can just get that on his left foot and get that space to, try and put it in that far left corner of Brad Collins, he's got a chance. It was the keeper's right, and he was beaten the moment it left Grimes' foot. We love, and we'll talk about goals like that when you see them firsthand, but that is something special. And I think maybe now that's those Swansea fans dreaming of a trip down to Wembley Way next Saturday. I think that might be a bridge too far for Barnsley.
Yeah, I think that's a huge... at the moment, Barnsley have created next to nothing, and now they need 2 goals to at least get it into extra time. And Swansea have been so solid so far. But that was a beautiful goal by Grimes. It's his 3rd goal of the season. He's only scored against Rotherham prior to this. And that could be arguably his most important goal in his Swansea career.
It's interesting to think now what Barnsley approached this. They've for 40 minutes, it's been 2 sides cancel each other out. It's been really cagey. It's not really had the quality that you've seen in the rest of the playoff games where, you've sort of seen a lot of the sides, whether it's one or the other or both sides, really go at each other and, really try and take the game to them. But Swansea and Barnsley have been a little bit different, more reserved, more laid back, as you kind of expect with what the playoffs have been over the last few years in the EFL. And, you just needed that goal to happen because maybe you hope the game could spark into life and maybe see a different reaction from Barnsley.
Britton finds Adebayo's in the box. He drills it across and he's there again. And it comes out to Britton, whose shot was always fading away from the far post. And in the end, it doesn't trouble Woodman. But that's already a bit better from Barnsley.
Yeah, Adebayo was just in a good position, wasn't he? He was unmarked in the box and he just tried to square it back. It was a good clearance. And then it came back out in the box to a Barnsley player, sets up for Britton. He's sort of off balance, really, isn't he? Not really positioned right as he tries to look for the far corner, like what Matt Grimes did just minutes before. But obviously, he didn't quite have the same execution as the Swans captain.
Yeah, you have to say, I mean, looking at it again, that footwork to set it up to get past Britain, that's what made the goal. So, this is headed away by Helik, flicked on by Palmer, headed away by Cabango. Low might be in here. Jamal Lowe, Civic all over the back of him, and that's a cheap free kick given away. And Ismail's not happy with that one.
Yeah, he's just saying to Ramon Palmer, you've just got to try and split away, get it away, sort of thing, as he's committed a foul. And I just think with, Barnes at the moment, they are just maybe, being guilty of just making too many unnecessary fouls. But the only problem is for them at the moment, the only good thing I should say is that they haven't really given a free kick away in a very offensive position for them to sort of have real great danger from. So if they can cut it out and not make sure it happens higher up the pitch, then it's okay. But in the position here, when you got Harahan, as we know, who could put a good ball in, kind of led to obviously Matt Grimes' goal. It could be something that smells danger for you as an opposition opponent.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is his third free kick now from a position where he can get his left foot whipped around it, and it was what led to the goal in the end. Hurahan whips it in again, this time to the back post. Cabango trying to get there. And still, Helik thought he kept it in play, but it's going to be a corner. And it'll be Harahan given another chance to get a ball in the box.
Yeah, we haven't really seen many opportunities for Swansea to get a corner. I think it's actually their first one of the game, and it's taken them 42.5 minutes. But as we know, the delivery he really puts it in the position where you want that ball to go, and he's so good at just placing it in there. And, yes, Barnsley have largely dealt with what Hurahan has put into the box, but let's see how they do from corners. As we know, they're a big defensive side, so you hope that Swansea don't get a chance here.
Yeah, he always gets pace on the ball as well, Hurahan. Sends it in with pace once more. It's come out well. I don't know what happened there. Collins punched it away. It was off the line in the end, but that was such a lethal ball in by Harahan, caused all sorts of problems, but Barnsley survive on that occasion. Yeah, Woodman Collins gets us underway again. Brilliant ball to Lowe. What a gorgeous flick that is by Jamal Lowe, but he's not going to be able to keep it in play. But he's thriving with confidence, and Collins is furious at Jamal Lowe for kicking the ball into the stands.
Yeah, he knew exactly what he was doing there. Didn't need Jamal Lowe, but that's what they're going to look to do. Quick thinking and just play that ball. They're obviously towards Jamal Lowe. They're showing the replay now of that Conor Hurahan ball. What he did there was really excellent. He really spins it, really whips it in. It's so difficult for a goalkeeper, right under his nose, and you've got a player literally right in front of you. You've just got to make sure he's just got to get a hand or a fist or something to get it away from the goal. And luckily, Barnes are able to scramble it clear. But set pieces and free kicks like that, or corners in this instance, are so difficult for keepers to deal with. You just got to hope you don't fall on the fall foul of an error.
Kabang with a gorgeous ball into Lowe, who brings it down beautifully on his thigh, and Swansea are playing with some confidence now. This is Fulton. Manages to get it back to Norton, back into Jay Fulton, who can't keep it in play. And we're just we're going to say how much added time probably going to have, but Swansea are getting closer to being in that final against Brentford. But, well, if it obviously Evan stays the same, that should be an excellent game. So
yeah, and if it obviously does see Swansea through, it'll be a very different sort of, final in terms of, we know that Brentford are sort of, real good at going forward. That's what they're, so unique about them, the sort of selling point about them. Swansea are a more sort of conservative, defensive-minded team that look to try and hit you on the break. So it's two very different styles potentially on show at Wembley. But Barnsley, have almost been the underdogs throughout the whole season, throughout their entire time since they came into the Championship. But they've got to show some serious grit and serious spirit that they're going to have to get through this, because Swansea is so mentally strong and just so tough when they go in front to even score against and break down.
I'm going to have 2 minutes added time here at the Liberty Stadium. And I'm sure Steve Cooper will be very pleased with his side and want to get them in. And Ismail they haven't really tested Woodman, and that'll probably be his biggest disappointment. They haven't really got going as such.
No, they haven't at all. You haven't really seen Alex Mowat get on the ball. You haven't really seen Callum Styles that much. He's put a lot of good effort in terms of running and, chasing things down and putting the pressure on. But, in terms of Woodrow, Adebayo, Morris, they've been so quiet. Literally, you wouldn't have hardly known that, that front three was playing. They've been, that quiet and not involved. So, Ishmael, for me, at halftime, has got to drill into his players. We've got to change our approach there because it's our last 45 minutes of the season potentially. And we've got to give everything that we've got. Literally, just try and make this as hard for Swansea as we can. There's one goal, levels it on the night, but it will make things interesting. And yes, they'll be behind on aggregate, but it'll give them so much greater belief. They need to free themselves. I think that's what I would be doing if I was Valerian Ismail.
I mean, you can see him there. He's absolutely furious, barking instructions from the sideline. Not happy with what he's seeing from his team. Are you beaten in the air? Grimes gets there ahead of his man. Lowe is just going to let that drop out of play. That'll be a Barnsley throw that Britain will take. Not long left in the first half now. Mawat forward. Cleared by Cabango. And straight out of play. Once again, but I mean, Barnsley, no matter what, obviously they want to get through, but they were nearly relegated last season, stayed up on the last day with a last minute winner. So it's been an incredible season from them, really, hasn't it? And it's something to build on no matter what happens, really.
Yeah, absolutely. They stayed up in the last minute beating Brentford, didn't they? It was that Connor Chaplin goal that saved them. And it was, just since then, just been a whirlwind for them. And they've just been, moving up and haven't looked back since.
And there is the halftime whistle at the Liberty Stadium. So it's Swansea City 1, Barnsley 0, 2-0 to the Swans on aggregate. It was a gorgeous goal by Matt Grimes, arguably the only moment of real quality in the first half. But the Barnsley have it all to do. Swansea, though, getting ever closer to that Wembley final next week. Halftime here, Swansea City 1, Barnsley 0.
Thank you very much, Jack and Matt, for the impressive and very good first half commentary. We've had a few comments in during that first half in the chat. Hi to Tom, who is a Huddersfield Town fan. Hopefully you're doing okay, Tom. And Midgie Gem, just talking to Tom, hopefully you're doing okay, Midgie Gem 06 as well. Well, fantastic first half. Barnsley have it all to do then in South Wales as Swansea City are 1-0 up at the break, 2-0 up on aggregate, and the winners face Brentford in the playoff finals after they won 3-1 on the afternoon, 3-2 on aggregate against Bournemouth. Bournemouth finishing the game with 10 men. And as Jack said, the only real quality of that first half was the goal from Matt Grimes in Swansea. Have 1 foot in the playoff final. And from throughout this season, Barnsley haven't beaten Swansea. It looks like for the entire 4 matches that Barnsley will not beat Swansea unless they can turn this round. They need at least 2 goals to take it to extra time. They need 3 to go through without extra time, and it'll be very interesting to see how it pans out during the second half. In La Liga today, congratulations to Atletico Madrid. They are champions of La Liga after they beat Real Valladolid by 2 goals. So Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid all qualify for the Champions League next season. Also qualifying for the Champions League next season is Sevilla. They play their final game of their season tomorrow. As well, other results from one of the final day in La Liga: Celta Vigo 2, Real Betis 3, Eibar 0, Barcelona 1, Elche 2, Athletic Bilbao 0, Huesca 0, Valencia 0, Osasuna 0, Real Sociedad 1, Real Madrid 2, Villarreal 1, and as I said, Real Valladolid 1, Atletico Madrid 2, and Real Betis are in the Europa League places next season. Villarreal, unless they win the Europa League final on Wednesday, will be in the Europa Conference League next season. And Manuel Pellegrini, the former Man City boss, I think this is his first season as Real Betis boss, and he has got Real Betis into the Europa League places. So, cracking job he has done over there. In the FA Vase final that was played earlier on today, and I'll let you know that result in a second. In the FA Trophy final, Hereford lost 3-1 to FC Hornchurch at Wembley this afternoon, as Wellington Rylands also won the FA Vase earlier on today, 3-2, I think it was. I was just clarify that result for you. Wellington Rylands played earlier today against Bidfield, and Wellington Rylands did claim the FA Vase trophy with a victory there, the 2021 winners. Elliot Nevitt with an hat-trick for Wellington Rylands in their game, earlier in a 3-2 win over Binfield. And they did quite well there from what I heard and not seen any of that action. Today I've seen plenty of playoff action today, seen all 3 playoff matches so far, and we'll bring you more commentary tomorrow from the playoffs as well. Elena's bringing more game to you tomorrow when we can on Swansea. Currently 1 up against Barnsley. Barnsley yet to really test the goalkeeper from just yet in that first half, and we'll just go to Matt now, who's been watching that in that first half, and Matt, from that first half, what should be been your overall assessment on that first half, and is there any way you can see Barnsley getting back into this tie?
I think it's, for me, going to be difficult for Barnsley now to break Swansea down. I think obviously Swansea, haven't actually been exceptional over the sort of game and a half that sort of unfolded in this semi-final. But they've had 2 real moments of quality, and that's what's basically put them 2-0 up on aggregate for me. The game in general has been quite bitty. It's been quite sort of, tense, a nervy affair. I think you could sense that the occasion is so important that both sides really don't want to lose. Not a lot of an inch has been given. Both sides largely have cancelled each other out, but you just feel like potentially with Barnsley now, the second half moving forward, that they kind of need to take the shackles off. They really need to go at Swansea. It's the last 45 minutes potentially of the season. Go down with a bit of a fight, really put the cat amongst the pigeons if they can score an equaliser in the second leg and, get themselves on the board on aggregate. But, it's going to be difficult for them, but I think they, will be hoping they can go down with a bit of a fight going forward.
Yes, and in that first half, they've for me anyway, they've not really gone up to the likes of Woodrow, who's up top, or in and around him there, because of the Swans defending so quite well. So how do you feel they can get likes of Woodrow, Morris, and Abejo into the game a bit more today, Matt?
Well, I think the main thing with Barnes is, as we know, their strength under Valerian Ismail is to go very long and be very direct. Now, I think obviously at times, when you go direct, you kind of miss the midfielders out because the balls that come out are largely from the centre backs. Obviously, the back 3 of Alick, Sibic, and Anderson. But obviously, when you've got Mauer in the team, who is very, very capable of picking passes through the Swansea defence or any opposition defence in the Championship, you kind of need to give the ball to him. And I think they haven't really done that in this game. They need to give him the ball and let him create. They have got, players who will chase things down. Britton and Styles at the wing-back areas have been sort of the outball in this sort of first half, if you like, where the 3 up front haven't really been there at all. But they need to get Mauer involved a little bit more. Their most influential player, their most creative. He's not been in the game at all. He's been non-existent, and that needs to change if Barnes is to get back in this game and make it an interesting second half.
Yes, and also if you look at this, the subs that they've got Dow, DK, Chaplin, Freezer, who all played majority of those. DK and Freezer played in the first leg. Didn't really get a look in. It's safely fair chance to unlike one of those 2 players, Matt. Do you reckon Barnsley could get something from this game and get a look in tonight, or don't you see that happening?
Well, I think obviously, as you mentioned there about the substitutes, Daryl DK is going to be introduced, isn't he? Let's face it. I think obviously the one thing about the first game when he started up front was he wasn't particularly as influential as they would like. And obviously he got well marshalled by Mark Gurhey in the game, but he's got to come on for me. I think Adebayoyo, he's, maybe the game might be a bit too big for him. I think he's almost been not really at it, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. And I think they need to maybe get DK on, put him, Morrison, Woodrow on. And I think if that happens, they do go very direct, but then they could change the system. Maybe put on Chaplin and DK as well and just go with sort of maybe two up front and then bring another midfielder on because obviously they've got Freezer there as well. So maybe you could change the front three and just maybe alter it slightly or even maybe change formation. But you're looking at that bench, Daryl DK is going to come on, but it's a case of when rather than if not.
Yes, and if you look at the Swansea bench, say if Barnsley were to get back into this and get back level on aggregate, who would you see on their bench that could come on and change it and potentially win it in normal time from before it goes to extra time? That's if Barnsley do get 2 goals in the second half, which is something that I don't think they've done in Swansea for quite some time now.
Well, you look at the Derby bench, they've got more the Derby bench. You've got the Swansea bench, obviously Morgan Whittaker, who came on against Derby's old club and scored the winner. Sort of, I think it was on the penultimate match there in the Championship. So he's somebody who's very much a regular from the bench for Swansea under Steve Cooper. Jan Dander's a very good technical player. Somebody who gets in the right positions, finds those little holes, and is often the one who can play balls and be, very direct. So in terms of his movement and his passing in terms of, threading it through very, very nicely. So they're the two standout names. But, Swansea, I think in terms of the defensive side of things, they will be looking at that more than anything else at the moment. They're in front. They're holding the lead. They're managing the game well. Yes, Barnsley haven't threatened and really laid a glove on them. But, of course, it could change at any corner. So if he maybe feels like Barnsley have been a bit more physical and they need the play to be broke up a bit, Corey Smith's the man to do that. He's very, very good in that role. And obviously as well, maybe if the fullbacks, need a bit of changing. But I don't think Steve Cooper's going to be too invested in really going to his bench very early on, unless in the second half, unless, of course, he has to make it because of an injury.
Yes, and if you just looking at it from one final time, the centre backs Kabanga and Gee has not really had much to do in that first half. But if you just before you look at that side of it, if you were Valerian Ismail at half time, what would your instructions be to the players that go out on that field of play from that first half? What would your message be? And would you be willing to make any changes now, or would you leave it a little bit longer to see how things go?
Are you talking about the Barnsley perspective?
Yes.
I think if I was Valerian Ismail, I'd say, look, lads, it's our last 45 minutes of the season. Give it everything that you've got. Really try and take the game to Swansea. Let's just show them why we're here, why we're in the playoffs, and just don't make it easy for them. You want to make it tough. You want to make it difficult. And I think that they do have the ability to do that with the players in their team. So they've got to change tactics, I think. The formation that they do have, it does work, and it has worked successfully for them. You don't sort of go against what you've built success on. But they need to try and be more bolder, I think, be a bit more brave and take a few more risks. And I know that you can maybe take your time in the game and Swansea look to try and pounce. It is how you manage it, but there's got to be a point in time for me where he turns round and says, look, we've got to go for it, lads. We've got to try and change tactics because they get an early goal in the second half. The anxiety and the doubt creeps into the minds of those Swansea players and coaching staff. So, I think he's got to try and do it from the start, but don't change the formation as such. Keep the same system, same set of players. Just try to maybe, keep more possession, be less direct, and get the midfielders involved more. And Mowat, Rommel Palmer, and get Britton and Styles involved in the game more.
Yes, and if we just look at it again, one final thing before we get ready for the second half, Matt. And Barnsley at the moment seem to be playing a 3-4-2-1 formation. Would you potentially go to a 4-3-4-1-2 and say push someone like Adebayo or Morris up front alongside Woodrow at the start of the second half and try and get that next goal in the game, or would you continue playing the same formation?
I think I wouldn't change it as such, because I think it is a formation that we are starting to see more and more of. I think obviously you could tweak a few things in terms of the tactical side of the game for certain players. The front three for me, they started the game sort of first 10 minutes very, very wide in terms of, Morris and Adebayo, and then they kind of swapped over a little bit in that first half, and they've kind of become a little bit more narrower, and it's kind of, meant that the wing backs haven't really been able to push on, and I think that's the main thing they've got to try and start doing. But in terms of the system, there has been times where one of the three might slip into the middle and obviously allow sort of Woodrow to maybe play as the number 10 and keep Morris and Adebayo up front. But I think that the main thing that they've got to try and do is that they've got to, they could go with the two up front, but it leaves it unbalanced. It's, if you make changes, you take one of them off, you've got to make the formation change much now. So, yeah, they're in a bit of a difficult position, but I think that they can just slightly tweak and maybe make some alterations to their team. As I think Daryl DK is coming onto the field to play.
Yes, it looks like that is the case. So to tell you who is coming on for the second half action, I'll hand back to your match commentators of Matt Iles, and first, with all the news of the Barnsley changes, Jack Cunningham.
Well, Valérien Ismaël is not messing around. He has made 2 changes. So on comes Daryl DK for Adebayo, and it looks like Jordan Williams is also coming on for his 75th Barnsley appearance, and he's coming on for Palmer. So Williams is usually a right back, so it's going to be interesting to see what sort of formation it's going to be. And obviously DK, 9 goals since he joined from Orlando City in January, so he knows where the net is. I'm guessing you're not surprised that he's made them changes.
No, not at all. In particular, DK, I think you've got to put him on now, haven't you? Adebayo for me
Just didn't do anything really.
No, it looked a bit too much of a game for him. I think it might have just been that game too far ahead for him. But DK comes on. He's that big physical presence. He models his game on Didier Drogba, doesn't he? And he said it in various interviews. So it'll be interesting to see how that happens. But what I have sort of noticed early on is that Callum Styles has slipped into the midfield, sort of partner Alex Mower, and then it's sort of just maybe meant that they've gone to maybe a back 4, or they have just maybe gone to a flat 5. With sort of, as it does look like Styles is just slotting into that.
Is it Styles as a Briton? Just trying to work out who's in the midfield area. Styles still looked to me to be on the left, and might have been Britain who got moved in the midfield, but I might be wrong. That's Britain there in the midfield, clears it away. As far as Morris can't get it there. Norton comes flying in, and Mowat, and Barnsley's flooding men forward. It's into Styles. He's got DK with him. Brilliant tackle by Cabango. Comes flying in. No, he didn't hold back. On comes Ayew now. Ayew finds Kyle Norton. Norton down the line, seeking out Jamal Lowe, but Collins clears ahead of him, and it's already a lively start the second half.
Yeah, that might be the emphasis change, isn't it? I think I was talking about it at halftime with Russ, that Barnsley needed to play through the middle a little bit more. Mowat was, non-existent in there. Callum Styles, as you know, loves to run around the pitch. He will always work himself into the ground. And obviously, I think they might look to try and do that. And obviously, as well, more importantly, because of the change, get Callum Britton on the ball as well. As we know, there was a couple of times he played balls through to Adebayo and Woodrow on those 2 occasions. He is somebody who could pick a pass up through the middle. So, an emphasis change very early on. And more importantly, a formation change from Valérien Ismaël.
Yeah, it looks like Barnsley subs have worked well this season as well. 10 goals from substitutes. So Valérien Ismaël clearly has got that right on many occasions, and I'd be hoping for the exact same, because as you were saying at half time, they've got nothing to lose now. They may as well just go for it. This is Cabango. Yeah,
absolutely. It's the last 45 minutes potentially of their season. You really want to lay a glove on Swansea. They did test them at times in the first leg, but tonight, the first half it was reserved. It was a very different sort of Barnsley, and you want to make sure that Swansea know that they've been in a game in this second leg, and they've had to really work hard to get over the line. So just for Barnsley now, it's just a case of trying to make sure that you're here, essentially, so to speak, and really make an impact and just try and test Swansea early on, because they didn't do enough in the first half.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Woodman's had very, very little to do, hasn't he? Really, certainly compared to the first leg, anyway. So yeah, you're totally right. They've just got to go for it, and at least if they do lose, they can have no regrets by the way they played the second half. Woodman to deliver it long towards Bidwell. Bidwell flicks it on, headed away by Heelick. Gay comes across. He was probably Swansea's best player in the first half, actually. The Chelsea man.
Yeah, he performed really well there, didn't he, Mark Gurhey, in that first half. He made some crucial challenges, didn't he? I think his positional play and his awareness for defending is absolutely spot on. And, whether it is with Chelsea or if Swansea get promoted and obviously do get to the final, I'll be absolutely astounded that the England under 21 man will be not playing in the Premier League next year if that's not the case, because he is ready-made to be playing in the top flight.
Yeah, I think you were definitely right about the reading of the game. For someone so young, it was impressive. He was seeming to be one step ahead of everyone, especially in that first half. That's surely a foul throw-in. We don't get them anymore, though. This is Routledge, instantly swarmed upon by 4, and Heelick clears in the direction of DK. DK gets in there. It's Morris. Morris lines it up. Can he get away? Shot. He's blazed it miles over the bars, Morris. But anyway, the foul has gone against DK, and Morris can be relieved, to be honest, because that was a shocking effort to goal.
Well, it was blown sort of as he was lining up the shot, wasn't it? It was Gurhey and DK. DK doesn't really do a lot wrong there. Yes, his arm is on the back of Gurhey, but there isn't really an obvious shove, an obvious arm to sort of knock Gurhey off track. So maybe they've got a little bit away with one there.
I have to say, I don't think that's a foul at all. I think that's DK using his physicality. Ball played forward by Woodman. Flicked away by Williams. Mauer gets it in towards Woodrow. You have to say, saw absolutely nothing of Cauley Woodrow in that first half. And when you look at sort of how he's done this season, I mean, he's nearly got 50 goals for Barnsley, all in all. He's got 48 overall. He's even played in the Premier League a few times. So he's got the pedigree, and they've just haven't been able to get him on the ball.
No, they haven't at all. And they've not really used him in the air neither. He's sort of in a position out wide, just try and, fill a makeshift position that needs that filling, doesn't it, really? And, you can tell it's not really his best position. And they need to get him involved more, as well as, the key players like Mauer and obviously, DK coming on.
Well, we've got Norton down injured, but we've got a free kick to Barnsley as well, because Gahey came flying over the top of DK, and already that looks like it could be a tasty battle for the second half, that one. But Norton is in a lot of pain here.
Yeah, with Gurhey and DK in particular, Gurhey was so good against him in that first game. And, that's probably why Valérien Ismaël did probably drop him maybe for the first, dropped him for the second leg to start with. But, obviously he'll be assigned just to keep an eye on him very, very close. Obviously you can't get DK with pace because he will, beat you 9 times out of 10. It's just important that Gurhey's very switched on and just, as I said, has the reading of the game in terms of where the ball is, but in terms of where his man is. That's going to be very, very important.
No, totally. And looks like, we might be seeing a change because Norton does look in a lot of pain. I mean, if they do have to make a change, Connor Roberts is probably the obvious choice. 25 caps was for Wales. He's made exactly 150 appearances for Swansea. So, there's plenty. It's not like they're bringing on a youth player and it's not going to weaken them in any way, really. But you do hope Norton is okay to continue. We'll have to see. It doesn't look great. It doesn't look great, though, has to be said.
And I think with this Swansea team, yes, they've got a lot of experience in the EFL, but it's still a fairly young side, isn't it? It's obviously actually Wayne Routledge down on the floor, but obviously, you kind of look at it. Routledge is a very important player, just not just on the pitch for Swansea, but off the pitch, because his experience is a lot stronger than a lot of those other players. And he's been there, he's done that in these playoff matches. There was a stat earlier that he obviously won the playoffs in 2004 with Crystal Palace, so he knows what it takes to get through these real high stakes games. And I think with those players who lost last year, they'll sort of rely on him to just try and maybe get them through it.
Well, it doesn't look great, and we're going to be having a change. So we'll have to see what happens here. But it doesn't look great. And it's going to lead to some lengthy stoppages at the end of the game, no matter what happens.
It'll be interesting to see what comes from this, because obviously Connor Roberts is pretty much getting stripped off and ready to come onto the field of play. But obviously now it might maybe just see, they might go with a flat 4 maybe. They might just, put Connor Roberts in at right midfield, or they might just sort of, then drop in low on the left-hand side, or even Andre Ayew, just maybe go with the one up front, because obviously you've got 3 midfielders in there that could push Horahan higher up and then keep Grimes and Fulton as the 2. So it is going to be quite interesting to see what Steve Cooper's doing, because he's really got to reshuffle the pack as Routledge is going off and doesn't actually look a good
No, it
way,
doesn't
does
look
he?
great at all. And I mean, for how old he is, I don't know. You do worry about, potentially what it means. I mean, they're getting a stretcher ready for him, so yeah, he's in a lot of agony. They can barely walk. Can't win Routledge, and he's been such a loyal servant to the Swans. This is not a nice thing to see for anyone. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how Steve Cooper deals with this now. He has been able to get into the game too much, Routledge, but he's occupied defenders, and he won. Well, he actually won the free kick that led the goal, and on comes Connor Roberts. So it will be interesting to see. Ball played forward, IU, and it's smashed away in the end. Straight up play for throw into the Tykes.
I think Steve Cooper's actually unhappy because Swansea were down to 10 men for that free kick. And it does actually make you think that they weren't allowed to bring Roberts on, but they were allowed to take the free kick. I do find that quite a baffling decision, I must admit.
Yeah, I thought they would, because Roberts it wasn't like they were waiting for Roberts to get ready. He was coming on. This is DK with a flick on towards Woodrow. Hourihan gets there. Cleared up towards Helik. Flicked on. Morris looked to flick it on, but then it's just dinked down the line. Looks like Ayu's filling in as the striker now. He can play that role. Does play that role on the odd occasion. But yeah, it doesn't look great for Wayne Routledge. I have to say. I mean, from the replay, I couldn't totally work out what had happened to him, but either way, he's in a bad way, and we hope he recovers quickly. That was a clever ball in the direction of Ayu, but Anderson stuck out a huge leg and manages to get it back to Collins. So you can see already Barnsley pushed up much higher up the field, and it will give Ayu the chance to run in behind.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they know now they've got to start taking risks. They know that if there's space left behind and Swansea pounce on it, then that is up down to them, but they are trying to hurt Swansea as much as they can and be a bit more of a force going forward.
Here's Lowe cutting inside past Sibic. He looks to have been fouled, but he carries on. And then it's a poor giveaway by Grimes, and away come Barnsley through Morris, who dinks it down the line, seeking out DK, but good defender by Cabango. And they've been brilliant so far, the two Swansea centre-backs.
Yeah, and you can obviously add that in part of the first game as well. Cabango was absolutely superb alongside Gurhey. And, again, we talk about Gurhey, but it's the same for Cabango. It's been 20 years of age, and to just read the game as well as you do. Some centre-backs only really get that when they sort of, advance toward in their career. To have that at 20, to have that positional sense and that awareness is absolutely phenomenal. It does get you a long, long way because, as we know, defenders just need that idea of just being smarter and just being that one step ahead and knowing where the ball's going to be and anticipating it. And Cabango and Gurhey are absolutely superb for that as a pair.
Yeah, definitely. And, Steve Cooper deserves a lot of credit for how he's coaching them and how he's managing them. And he's done a brilliant job with Swansea, really. And, there is a reason he's been linked with Premier League jobs. But obviously, you just think a lot of that will depend on if Swansea make it to the Premier League. This is now played forward in the direction of Woodrow. And Bidwell's going to let that drop straight out of play. And we're 56 minutes in here, and it is still Swansea City 1, Barnsley 0. An absolutely glorious goal by Matt Grimes, and still the only real moment of quality in the game. And that's what you need in these sort of games, isn't it? When it's so tight and it's so feisty, you just need someone to take the ball and take the responsibility. And it was the captain on that occasion.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a goal it was as well. It was just calm. It was so composed. He knew exactly where he wants to put it, even before the ball's actually gone to his feet, and he was smart enough to actually get it on that left foot of his, and he just bent it round the goalie, Brad Collins, who had absolutely no chance.
Helik there with a foul on Ayu. Roberts trying to play it into Ayu, and then Helik just stands on Ayu's foot. He's very late to the ball there, the pole. Ball switched out to Carl Norton. Fulton forward in towards Roberts. Looks like Roberts is playing as the right winger, really. I mean, in fairness, he has done pretty well in terms of goals and assists this season. Got 5 goals and 7 assists. And that's from a right wing back position usually. So you can see why he's filling the wing. That's a lovely turn by Ayu, but Anderson deals with it in the end. Back to Collins, and he thumps it away. Flicked on by Morris, only as far as Kyle Norton. DK goes in. Barnsley win it back. Then Fulton wins it back, and then Styles wins it back, and there's Morris now. He can stretch his legs. He's got DK with him. He's got Woodrow with him as well. He's still going, Morris. And in the end, he's been shut out. He really had to make a pass there.
Yeah, he did. And, he's not afraid to really drive at the ball, is he? He's not afraid to drive with the ball as Carter Morrison. He didn't have a lot of help. I mean, he did have DK peeling off his left-hand side, and he really should have played it to him. But he might have felt maybe, Morris, the run wasn't as strong from DK as he wanted it to be. I think DK needs to really get away from him. Make that forward run rather than that run side on.
Yeah, it was a bit of
the reason why he was reluctant to play the pass.
Yeah, it was a bit of a nothing run, wasn't it, really? Surely got to go in the middle there. That's DK being looking like he was hauled to the floor, but we carry on. And, Ishmael's not happy with the referee for that one.
I think he's right to be. I mean, DK
I thought it was a bit of a
wrestled
foul
to the ground there, wasn't it? I think he's absolutely spot on to be angry.
Mawat
Certainly a right
has now
to be.
come in and left one on Grimes. And it's just getting a bit, maybe tempers are flaring up now. Certainly they did in the earlier game, didn't they? Brentford, Bournemouth.
Yeah, they did. And I think obviously you don't want that to creep in for Barnsley because they are still in this game. It's just about retaining calmness and just being cool. Mawat goes for it. And to be honest, he gets up a little bit too late, doesn't he? I think the ball's gone, but by the time he goes into Grimes, I don't actually think he needs to do that. And obviously Swansea got a free kick inside their own half.
Yeah, it's just, maybe slight bit of frustration perhaps. But yeah, I mean, Begovic was losing his mind in the other game. So we're going to have to see if anything else like that happens in this one. But it's going to be Woodman. We're just approaching the hour mark. And the Swansea fans will be very, very happy because this, as it stands, they've got a trip to Wembley coming up. This is Norton. Well, it's going to be Barnsley's ball. Norton is now hobbling. They won't want to make another change through injury. Collins takes it long. DK goes up, beaten in the air by Cabango. Great header. Here's Jamal Lowe now. Pushes it past one. Then manages to get out to Roberts. Ayew's free in the middle. Can he find Ayew? He can't. Comes out to Fulton. Back into Fulton. Might reach Hourahan. It does. It's into Jamal Lowe's in the box. And Mawat covers. And Barnsley can clear. And very confident play by the former Leeds man, Alex Mawat there. But Barnsley lose it through Morris. Lovely touch and run by Fulton. Picked up in the end by Collins. But that was it was some good approach play by Swansea. They're going to cause, you'd think as the game goes on, they're going to cause more of a problem from counter-attacks as well because Barnes are going to have to keep pushing.
Yeah, exactly that. And it was very inventive play by Fulton. It was just too heavy a touch, wasn't it, as he got into the box? But that's the sort of thing maybe they'll look to just try and do now, with Barnes, obviously, as we know, that they're sort of gone off the idea of pressing. They're more opposed to doing it. They just want to put the bodies up there, don't they? And just let Swansea have the ball. So, there is always going to, be that space because of the high line. And obviously it means the Swansea players can squeeze up even further and almost essentially play on their defensive line. So it is going to be quite interesting to see. And, one thing I've noticed, Jay Fulton is very much up against that Barnsley defence. And there is somebody who I think might just be, looking to just try and break through that, as I said, that defensive line.
This is low again, but picked up by Sibic, who thumps it away. Only as far as Cabango, and now it's back with Carl Norton. Norton down the line for Roberts, and Roberts gets a bit unlucky there. It sort of hits his back, and Barnsley come away with the ball. Through Britton. Britton's 3 Swansea players swarming around him, and in the end, it's going to be a Swansea ball. But they're still pressing high, Swansea.
Yeah, exactly. That's not deserted them, has it? And we were speaking about Barnsley in terms of how that sort of faded away, but for Swansea, it's still really been there. And that's the thing. You had Ayew going right in that right hand side, putting the pressure on. You had Fulton in there as well, Norton, Roberts, as much as anything else. There was 3 or 4 players in there, not allowing Barnsley to bring it out. And they've been really, really good at that, Swansea. I think that's been what's really been a success for them in this game so far, is the fact that they just haven't allowed their opponent to really get out those areas, and that has been a real success for them.
Yeah, I mean, the first 3 games they played against Barnsley this season, they haven't conceded a goal. So far, they haven't conceded a goal either. So Maybe they just know how to play it. And you can see what happened to Norton there. As he cleared the ball, something happened to his knee. That is very unusual. I don't know how you do that to your knee, clearing the ball like that, but hopefully he seems like he's going to be okay. I'm going to have an offside against Andre Ayew. How long do you think it is before Ishmael makes his final change?
You look at the bench. You've obviously got Connor Chaplin, Dominic Freezer. They're the two attacking options.
Yeah.
I mean,
The rest
Carter
of the
Morris has shown a lot of...
Flicked on here. It's going to make through for a drop for Woodrow. And in the end, it's going to be a corner to Barnsley, but that was a bit more direct from them. Ayew, again, he's been excellent defensively in this game.
Yeah, it's a vital header away. It just goes a little bit away from Cauley Woodrow, and he's just able to shield it out of play. But this is a good chance for Barnsley to try and cause a few problems.
Yeah, it's going to be Styles to... It's going to be more of an outswinger. He drives it in, floats it in. It's a climb and power and header by Morris, and Woodman gets down low to his left to deny him, but that was a brilliant ball in, and Morris rose high above everyone. And, he's a bit unlucky there, but Woodman's come up with a good save to keep the score
a lot of height
at 1-0.
There's a lot of height on that delivery from Styles, right to the back post, floated perfectly, inviting for any player to head. Morris got up above Fulton, and luckily Woodman was at his near post to save.
Ball whipped in this time. Woodman comes out, punches, not convincingly, but it's going to be a goal kick.
Yeah, it wasn't the most convincing. We saw, obviously, Horahan do that in the first half to Brad Collins. Barnsley tried it there, and Woodman knows he's not going to catch it because it's such a tight area that he's going to have to try and claim it from. So he just tries to punch it. I think Anderson climbed up. DK was there as well. Yeah. It does look like the last touch has gone off Daryl DK, but for me there, Woodman, I think he's just got to be a little bit more convincing, a little bit more, confident there. He did look like, he didn't really appear to not really know what to do in that situation, but he obviously gets away with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was almost the two sides of Freddie Woodman there, wasn't it? With the good shot stop, great, low reflexes. Then that's the part of his game that he probably needs to improve is his command of his box and his area, because it wasn't convincing. And in the end, he punched it off DK's head, and it could have gone anywhere, really. Flicked on. This is now DK in a race with Gahey. Brilliant tackle once again. And he tries to get there once more. And Swansea have the ball through Grimes. And Grimes slips it through to Ayew, but he's not going to get there. Williams gets there instead. But once again, the defender from the young 20-year-old, impeccable. And there's a foul given against Cabango there.
Yeah, absolutely. Gurhey has been absolutely sensational in these sort of two games, isn't it? It just almost feels like Barnsley are just going to have to do something seriously special to get beyond them and to, more importantly, score. Yes, Woodman has been a little bit, suspect at times in the two games, but with the two centre-backs in front of him, you can see why he's had nothing to do in those two matches.
Here's Mawat to get this one in the box. Mawat floats it over to the back post. It's flicked backwards by Anderson. Comes out to Woodrow. Woodrow just drills it off Grimes and wins a side of throw. I'd be very surprised if this doesn't go long into the box.
Yeah, that's what you think, isn't it? I think with Barnsley from these throw-ins, they've not really been smart with it. We know Britain has got that in his armoury, and obviously, he does wind it up and really sort of go back, leans on the advertising boardings, but you've got Anderson there as the nearest man. He's got to flick it behind. If he gets that first flick on, they've got a chance.
Britain into the box. Ayew climbs above everyone. Gets it away. Horahan. It might drop for Lowe here. Jamal Lowe. He's got a runner with him against Connor Roberts. He slides in Roberts. It's Roberts against 4 Barnsley players. Now he cuts back, and in the end he gives it away. But that was potentially something for Swansea. But this is now a chance for Barnsley. Here they come. Through Britain. Britain into Mawat. Mawat's got Styles with him on the left. He finds Morris instead. Morris has picked up a nice pocket of space here. Morris finds Styles. Styles drills it in. It's going to come all the way back through. And it's blocked brilliantly at the back post. What an absolutely fantastic challenge to keep the score at 1-0 to Swans. But here come Barnsley again. Whipped in low and cleared by Gurhey once more. He's been everywhere this evening.
Yeah, they're starting to really put the pressure on Barnsley, aren't they? It was a real good ball in by Styles. It was right at the back post. It was Williams attacking it. Bidwell just slides in, throws himself in front of it. What a vital block that is. And then obviously Britain put that ball in and didn't come to effect, but they're getting in this game, Barnsley.
Headed away, comes out, dropped, volleyed. Well, I think it's volleyed in the end, wide of that near post. But yeah, much better from Barnsley. This is a great move, to be fair, involving Morris, Mawat and Styles. And vital block by Bidwell, really, as he throws himself in front of it. Because I'll tell you what, I think Williams is scoring there otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. And the main thing about that block in particular is he doesn't actually sort of turn to the side to block it. He's, forward facing the attacker in this instance in Williams, and it just cannons off his boot and obviously goes out to the right hand side. What a vital block that is, and that is the definition of a goal saving block, isn't it?
Yep. This is Williams, who is inches away from scoring, really, if it wasn't for that excellent challenge. This is back in the arms of Woodman, and we're approaching the final 20 minutes here, and Barnsley are going to have to come up with something special if they want to keep their playoff dream alive. Woodman is going to take all the time in the world over this one. He delivers it long. Jamal Lowe races past Williams. Can he keep it in play? I think he's just about kept in play. He's won a corner there, Jamal Lowe. That is brilliant play from the winger.
Yeah, because he knows he's not going to get into the box, or he just knows if I could just get a corner or get something, then that's done me good for that attack. And he's always going to chase things down, Jamal Lowe, and he knows that is not going to stay out of play. I'll work and work. If it does, I've tried my hardest to keep it in, but he did really, really well. He just saw a Barnsley man then. He thought, I'm just going to basically try and kick it against him and get something. That's exactly what he got.
Yeah, and just I'll be interested to see how many men Swansea put forward into the box. The two centre-backs seem to be lurking. They're there. Fulton, Grimes on the edge. Bidwell also there. Whipped in by Roberts. Climbing header. Flicked on, but it's going to go out of play for a throw-in to Swansea. It was flicked on in the end off a Tyke's head.
Yeah, it was Gurhey that was attacking. It wasn't a bad delivery, and that's what he was looking for. I think maybe it was just beyond him as he sort of got up. He is a very, for a defender in sort of attacking areas, Gurhey's actually not quite the tallest. It did sort of just brush off an arm of a Barnsley player, but yeah, it was hoping maybe just for a bit of a better ball into Gurhey from that left-hand side.
He's not scored for Swansea this season. Roberts, long throw into the area. That's a really good throw. Ayew climbs up. It might drop for Fulton. His shot's blocked, and away come Barnsley through Williams. He needs some help, Williams, but Grimes has slipped at the wrong time. He's got 4-5 men up with him. Can he find the cross? He's drilled it into Cauley Woodrow. Oh, it's an excellent goal by Barnsley. Cauley Woodrow has come up, and they have a chance now. That was all about Jordan Williams, though. Drive and run into Woodrow, who's done nothing in the game, but he's come up with an excellent finish, and it is game on here at the Liberty Stadium.
You're absolutely right. It is game on, and Cauley Woodrow gets that one chance, and if you want it to fall to anybody, it's him, because he takes it absolutely impeccably. But the move is set up by Liam Williams, as you said. Brilliant run, really good driving run. He just keeps on going. All he's interested in is just trying to set up a chance. He gets a bit of a stroke of luck because of Grimes slipping as he tries to go and close him down. But he just sets it up. It's a beautiful laid pass into Woodrow. He knows if he gets good contact on it, it's going goal bound, and it's going to go beyond Woodman potentially. He does exactly that. The keeper's got no chance. Barnsley suddenly back in it. They've got the spring in their step in this second half. They have deserved it. With 19 plus minutes to go, what a contest we've got now.
Yeah, and that's what Woodrow now. 49 goals for Barnsley in his career, but fair play to Williams. Brilliant. I have to say, Matt Grimes slipped at a horrible time, didn't he? It looked like he had it covered, and they just lost his footing, and now it's a very, very different game, this one. Back with Collins. Collins with the ball forward. And it comes into Harahan. Harahan. Swansea need to regain some sort of control of the game, because you can imagine the crowd will start to get a bit nervous now as well.
Yeah, when you're always holding that one goal lead, it is always, that element of anxiety just naturally sort of starts to creep in, and the nerves are even more jangling, aren't they? I think what Swansea got to do is they are very, very good at managing these sort of games. I mean, the first leg, they did it really, really well at Barnes. It was spot on, wasn't it? Where they were basically pinned in their own half for the second 45 minutes. What's going to be interesting now is, now Barnsley has scored, now they've got the wind in their sails, and the belief has grown even more. It is up to just Steve Cooper's side to just try and put a lid on it and just try and keep things down to a level that's suitable for them. Doesn't let the panic creep in.
Yeah, definitely. And, it is, well, they're going to make a change. Looks like Corey Smith coming on, the former Bristol City man. Solid midfielder.
Yeah,
Interested to see who he comes on for.
Yeah, what he'll do, Corey Smith, is he's a very, very good player to have. He'll just sort of sit in front of the back four. He'll be that calming influence. He'll make good challenges. He covers a lot of ground. And he is quite a very, tenacious player. Good ball-winning midfielder that obviously a role in the sort of central midfield is kind of gone. And we don't see a lot of them. But I think it's quite a smart move from Steve Cooper that's in the offing.
Yeah. Woodman straight up play. So it's going to be Hourihane coming off for Smith. And I have to say, Hourihane, in the end, his free kick did lead to the goal from Grimes, and he has put in some really good deliveries on occasion, but hasn't been his game necessarily. I would say, but it's just been one of those games where the midfield's barely been involved, really. So can't, So yeah, as you say, Smith coming on, see what he does.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, in terms of Barnsley, we've seen in this second half in particular, it's all gone down that right-hand side that Liam Williams is occupying a position in, and he's run a long, long way to set the chance up. And I think what Corey Smith does, a fit Corey Smith goes over to that area and really covers sort of every single blade of grass. He really thrives on it. And that is what has been a real good bit of his play in the last few years at Bristol City. That's what kind of made him a real stalwart in their side under Steve Cottrell and, to an extent, Lee Johnson. And I think, obviously, Swansea kind of need him to do that here, just to not allow crosses, whether it's high or low, put into the Swansea box.
Yeah, this is headed away by Cabango, then dinked forward, and DK is in a race with Norton, and Norton's done excellently there, because DK is a powerful and quick man. Headed away by Fulton. Are beaten in the air? Fulton, though, the brilliant header to Lowe. Now, can Lowe beat Civic in a race? Well, not on that occasion. He has had him for most of the evening, to be fair, but a bit of a loose touch from Jamal Lowe there, and Barnsley got it away. Grimes is then looks like to be taken out there, but not interested.
The main thing here is, have Barnsley got it in the tank? Have they just got the belief amongst themselves? That goal has come at a really good time, because it's now just going to make for an interesting sort of quarter of an hour that's left. Have they just got that belief? Have they just got that feeling that, this could be our day? And you've got to say, Mark Gurhey there does absolutely superbly. Stands in front of Carlton Morris. It was absolutely brilliant play. And, another thing that he's really stood out for in tonight's game is just not allowed his men to go on the outside of him. He's so good at just shortening the angle and just getting his body up. He really is going to go a long way in this game, I think, Mark Gurhey.
Morris is absolutely furious, but to me, I mean, that looks like a foul. He's got his... It's a bit, I don't know, Gurhey's got a hold of his shirt as well, but...
It's sort of as they go down, isn't it?
Yeah, once you got your body.
It's sort of as they go down, because Morris is just literally not letting go of Gurhey. Yeah. He's not letting him out of his sight, and he sort of brings him down. And obviously, the referee is right to give a free kick in that instance.
Yeah, definitely. But Morris was furious. Headed away by Healy. That's a good header. And DK might get there, but Cabango in ahead of the striker. Good pass out. Here comes Williams once more. He's going to send the cross in early this time. So that's, again, it's an impact from a substitute, though, isn't it, from a Barnsley player, because Williams came on, he's got an assist. This is Mawat. Lovely, clever ball into Styles, but Woodman comes out and deals with it.
Yeah, Connor Roberts did really well, knew exactly where Callum Styles was going to go in terms of his run. It was going through the middle. The cross was just a little, the ball from Woodrow, so it was just a little bit too high, went into the hands of Freddie Woodman in the end. But, that's what Callum Styles will do. He'll break through the lines. He's a willing runner. He'll do it for days on end. He's a bit like N'Golo Conte, you could say, in that extent, in terms of he will run and, maybe he's a bit more on the defensive side like Conte, but in terms of the attacking play, he will do that. And Connor Roberts, of course, had to step in from the right back position to just hold him off.
Yeah, this is some bit of head tennis there, and DK's come away with it and rolled Gurhey. That's probably the first time that has happened. Then DK just takes a loose touch and allowed Swansea to get away with it, nick in there. But Barnsley, you can see now, their tails were up, they're pressing high, and they are running out of time, but, the momentum is certainly with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with Swansea now, they'll just be sort of quite happy to just maybe sit on this at 1-1. They don't want to just let the opportunity for Barnsley to expose the space and to get chances on their goal be a real thing for them and a regular thing as the clock is ticking. Maybe look to try and hit Barnes on the end just to be sure, but it's just about now how they manage the game. That's the most important thing I think that will be going in Steve Cooper's mind.
Yeah, because ultimately the Barnsley goal did come from a Swansea corner. Hammered away by Grimes, straight to Collins. Collins now, he gets some distance on them kicks. Long, Morris brings it down on his chest, cleared by Grimes once more. Could be pretty much attack versus defence this last sort of 12 minutes plus stoppage time. It's going to feel like a long 12 minutes for those fans in the stadium. Well, into Helik. This is now Sibic who's going on a run. Jamal Lowe's got back at him, and it's going to be a corner.
Yeah, this is territory that Barnes will be hoping to get it right. The delivery, of course, from Mowatt's been okay. I think the corners have been getting better in the second half, but it's really back to the wall at the moment for Swansea. Not quite to a real extreme extent, but it does just have that feeling. Barnes has just got to keep going, keep pushing, and just trying to unlock that door.
Mowat to send it in. Everyone around Woodman. It's a good ball. It's flicked on at the near post by Morris, and he's got too much on it. And he's just headed it straight out of play, well wide. If he gets a glance and header on there, that's probably a goal.
I think he's actually trying to do that, Carlton Morris, if I'm being perfectly honest. He makes the run. He does the perfect thing. Jay Fulton completely switches off as he just drifts toward the back post. But I think Morris is actually trying to flick it on. It's unfortunately just bounced off him in the face and got out of play for a goal kick.
Yeah, it sort of just came off his head at the wrong angle. That was a good ball in by Mowat at the near post. Real pace and dip on it. And Morris is starting to cause more problems as well. Great header by Ayew. Can Lowe get there? No, clever defending by Anderson. Just nod it back to Collins. This is now Williams again. Williams ball forward into Wards Woodrow. Picked up by Mowat. Styles gets there, but then Norton picks it up for Swansea and then dinks it out to Connor Roberts. Roberts with the first time ball, trying to find Smith, but got it all wrong.
It's just important for Swansea that they just try and keep possession, just be calm. The first game they were so good at it. Just make sure they've got to keep doing it again because Barnsley are just going to keep coming and coming. They're not going to lie down, and they've made this a really good second half contest. And it's just maybe shown that we are here. We're not going to let you win easy as maybe people think you should.
Styles finds Morris. This is through to Sibic. Sibic works it across to Williams, putting some nice passes here together. Now it's sent to the box and easy for Woodman.
Yeah,
to
just
come out, and
allows
he's
him
very
to
grateful to just drop on it.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's going to do, isn't he? He just wants crosses to come in so he can just, take the hand on the ball and just go down to his knees or go to ground just to make the game just slow down, let the timer tick, essentially, with 9.5 minutes to play. But those Swansea fans are really getting nervy, aren't they?
Yeah, he looked, petrified. It's been so long, hasn't it, that since they've been in the stadium, and this is such a huge game for both teams that you can't imagine that the nerves are probably, running through their veins. This is a good tackle by Fulton, and Lowe's going to get there, and he finds Bidwell, and Bidwell dinks one towards Ayew, but Collins comes out and deals with it. Just under 10 minutes to go, plus stoppage time. I'll tell you what, we'll have some lengthy stoppage time because of that Routledge injury as well. This is Helik, finds Sibic, headed away by Gurhey. Has to be a contender for man of the match, I would say. Williams into Sibic. This is now Britton. Sibic finds Morris. Morris round the corner to DK. DK, let's just get it in the box. Drills it back across. Mowat was arriving, and it's sliced away by Norton for a corner, but it's pretty relentless pressure, this now.
It is, isn't it? Swansea withstanding it just about. Yes, Barnsley are putting the pressure on, but they're not quite getting shots away. They're just wanting to work the ball in the box, like the Williams opportunity for Cooley Woodrow. It's a big 8 minutes here, and Swansea just got to stay firm, stay calm, and just keep doing what they're doing.
Going for the outswinger this time. Floated over towards the back post. Morris gets up and nods it over the bar. once again, he's had 3 headers now from set pieces in this second half. Tested Woodman with 1, and he should do better there. He's almost on the way down as it's coming in, but he's climbed above everyone once more, and he just can't get his header on target.
Yeah, he's proven elusive in the box, isn't he? Swansea really struggling to deal with him. He's sort of circling everywhere. He's gone at the near post from that right-hand side. He's gone in the middle for a header, and he went down to the far post on the left-hand side. And as you say, as the ball sort of reaches him, he is on his way down. So he's really got to leap up even further and try and maintain his balance. And obviously, he doesn't really get enough telling contact on it. And in the end, he just sort of stops in slow motion in the air and just loops over onto the roofing of the net. But yeah, if they could get their corners right, get the delivery, and get Morris with the contact on it, I think they're on the money and they've got a chance to take this to extra time.
Yeah, this is Anderson now with the ball away. Swansea just looking to get the ball up this end of the pitch, but it's Morris again. Morris keeps the ball and now looks to ping a gorgeous pass out to Styles. It's a brilliant ball by Carlton Morris there. Now Styles can have a run at Norton. He's into the box, Styles. He pulls it back and cleared by Matt Grimes. Picked up by Anderson, but time must be feeling very slow for those Swansea fans. Styles into Britton. This is now Mawat. Mawat, clever play into Morris. Morris back to Britton again. Britton looking to deliver maybe. Stead plays it back into Styles. This is Morris. Styles wants it back. Into Britton. Britton now sends it in. DK. It's going to drop for Woodrow. Woodrow still got it in the box. And now he shoots Woodrow, and it's going to be drops. Great fill into the arms of Freddie Woodman. But that looked like could have probably been more dangerous than it ended up being.
Yeah, exactly. And it's pretty harsh for Cooley Woodrow in that attack because he actually does everything right. It's just that slip that just slows it down and just makes it harder for him because he's got to get away from the box. He's got his back to goal. Then he's got to try and turn and face it. And as he shot, he just saw 2 Swansea players right in front of him. Jake Bidwell's been really exemplary in terms of being in the right position and just making those crucial blocks. He did it as well just for that chance for Cooley Woodrow. The block had the shot taken the sting out of it, but unfortunately for Woodrow, he just had to get away from the box and try and line up from the edge of the box. But yeah, he's unlucky there.
Yeah, Sibic drilled one towards Styles and he just came charging at the back of Connor Roberts. I don't even think he saw Connor Roberts, to be honest. He just had his eyes on the ball, and it's a free kick that relieves a bit of the pressure for Swansea, who have 5 minutes plus whatever stoppage time we're going to have to cling on and get into that Wembley final.
It's a big 5 minutes, isn't it? I think obviously he's got an opportunity to make another substitute. You know, you're looking at it. You know, maybe does he bring another centre back on just to be sure, just to make it even more tight to ensure things that Ryan Bennett wouldn't be a bad option to bring on, given the fact that he's very experienced and very, very solid. So maybe that might be playing on Steve Cooper's mind with sort of 4.5+ minutes of this game to go.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Bennett, over 100 Premier League appearances for the likes of Leicester and Wolves. So, yeah, he could be the ideal player to bring on if you're looking to see out the game. But stat came up there. They've conceded 5 goals in stoppage time this season, Swansea. So could the narrative be written already? Morris flicks it on, headed away. Morris again. DK can't get there. Picked up by Gurhey. It's an interesting ball back to Woodman. Had quite a bit of pace on it, but Woodman deals with it and flings it long. Styles. He knocks it in the direction of DK, but it's a comfortable header for Grimes. Picked up by Styles once more. This is now Norton. That's a really good ball. Ayew's in here. Andre Ayew going to take on Sibic. Still into the box. Ayew onto his left foot. In the end, he's held it up and he's found Grimes. Grimes into Fulton. Is Fulton going to take it into the corner, perhaps? Looks like that's where he's going. And Barnsley regather the ball through Britton. Britton finds Mawat. Mawat into Sibic. Sibic's ball's pretty poor, really. Smith. Into Grimes. Low. Smith gets there headed deep. That's an excellent challenge, but Barnsley come away with the ball. Morris. Needs some help. He's got Styles with him. He's going on another run, Morris. He's got a very unorthodox style, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely, Morrison. He's somebody who, has been trying to get the ball at his feet, really running more. And obviously, I spoke about very early on, I thought they were going to use him as an out ball, sort of as a target man to use flick-ons with his head, but it's been quite the opposite, hasn't it?
Here's Corey Smith. Smith to finish the game. He goes round the goalkeeper and he slips at a horrible time. Smith there. What a time to lose your foot. And it looked like he'd gone round Collins. But just as he's about to pull the trigger, he loses his footing and Barnsley survive.
Well, what are the odds on that? What are the chances? They're so minimal slipping over when you pretty much do all the hard work. I think he does the right thing, actually, in trying to knock it away from Brad Collins. And, it's probably no disrespect to Corey Smith, but he's never been really in that position before himself. And I think he's much in his career. And obviously, he gets that opportunity. He makes such a good run. He's just completely ghosted through. Massive gap left by the Barnsley defence, something they haven't actually done throughout this game. And as he tries to take around Collins, as you said, Jack, he just slips as the keeper dives down to his feet. But yeah, it was just.
It's Roberts. Roberts is in behind. Roberts goes for the lob. And Collins, in the end, gratefully grabs it. But really clever idea there from Connor Roberts.
Yeah, in the space of just around 60 seconds, they just hit them through the middle down that sort of down that left-hand side. It was that massive gaping hole there. Roberts did really well to chase onto it. And obviously just didn't quite get the purchase to get it over the keeper.
And Barnsley are bringing off Sibic for Liam Kitchen, which is interesting because he's another centre-back.
Yeah, I think obviously that it doesn't mean they're going to change system, but I think with Kitchen now, they might look to him to try and put balls into the box. He's a very good crosser on that left foot of his, and I think that could be maybe the reason why Valérien Ismaël has gone to the bench.
Yeah, this is only his second appearance for Barnsley, actually. He signed in January from Forest Green Rovers. What a time it would be to get a goal. Be interested to see how much stoppage time we're going to have. We are into the last minute. Drilled forward by Kitchen. Flicked on by Woodrow, but it's cleared. It might reach low. Halleck heads it on. Morris flicks it on now. And Norton smashes the ball away. Ayew beaten in the air by Kitchen. Kitchen ball forward. Really coming towards the conclusion of this game now. Cabango and DK having a bit of a battle, but Swansea get away with it.
Yeah, Cabango does really, really well, doesn't he? Just doesn't get intimidated by DK. He's a real nuisance, isn't he? And a lot of Championship defenders have not been able to have a lot of joy out of him, but Cabango and Gurry are doing a really good job whenever they've had to deal with him on their respective sides.
Bidwell heads that away. Britton into Woodrow, who just loses the ball. We're going to have 5 minutes at a time here at the Liberty Stadium. 5 minutes for Swansea to cling on and 5 minutes for Barnsley to keep their playoff dream alive. Free kick given against the Tykes.
Yeah, that is literally what Swansea want, isn't it? Free kicks, stoppages, throw-ins, you name it, whatever it means it can stop and just wind the clock down, they will take it. And it just means now that they can just regroup and just get a little bit more energy drilled into, the camera's obviously showing those fans there. They're putting a lot of encouragement, but it's a brave face because there is a lot of nerves there you can sense.
Yeah, definitely. You can just feel it around the stadium, can't you?
And I think you've got to give Barnsley a lot of credit in this second half. I didn't actually think were actually quite capable of doing this given the way they played in the first half. But it's been a lot of good effort, a lot of really good hard work. They've really run themselves into the ground. And it just feels like they're just going to ultimately come a little bit too short. But, these playoffs is often fine margins, not a great deal of a difference. And we've seen that here with Swansea and Barnsley. They've gone toe-to-toe. And it's just really been, for me, two real moments of quality for Swansea that's won it in what is probably one of the most finest margin playoff semi-finals you're likely to see.
Yeah, this is now Britain. Balls has been launched forward now. He comes up with a good header. It's going to drop for Williams. Williams gets it out to Anderson. Anderson and it's Morris again. This time, not enough power on it, but he's won so many of those headers in the box. I mean, Conor Roberts doesn't have a shirt. I've got no idea what's going on there. So it's
I'm not
Morris
too sure what's actually
Roberts, and Morris has ripped Conor Roberts' shirt off him, and apparently that's not a foul. Interesting.
Well, they were both sort of having a little tug with each other, wasn't there? And it was practically a wrestling match, wasn't it? But that ball in, it worked well. Williams gave it to Anderson. He just stood the cross up for Morris. He put in a decent area, but Morris is well away from the goal. He's only just inside the Swansea box with the header, and he's actually got the right technique, trying to head it down, trying to get it toward the right-hand side of the post, away from the goalkeeper, but ultimately it was just unsuccessful.
Matt Grimes now limping. A lot of weary bodies out there. It's been an intense battle of a game, really. No one has, everyone's put in everything they can. Huge tackles, huge battles in that midfield area. So it's no surprise to see Grimes limping along. But Swansea are getting closer. We've got just under 2.5 minutes left. Woodman, ball forward. Flicked on. Comes to Styles. He's first thought is ball forward towards DK, but no direction, and Woodman will take all the time in the world for that.
Yeah, one thing with Barnsley's defence is they still maintain that high line. Swansea haven't been able to, they've got in behind them on 2 occasions throughout the match, and I think they have actually been very, very solid. They have maybe just missed that little bit more quality in the middle. You've got Grimes, you've got Fulton, you've got Horahan, are obviously been real good differences for Swansea. And I think maybe Barnsley just sort of missed that. They've got Mauer, not quite been in the game for me enough. Obviously, they put Britton in there. He's not really been able to get on the ball, and I think that's something that has been lacking for them tonight. It's just that little bit more time in possession and the willingness and the ability to try and keep hold of it, because I don't really think it's been there for the Tykes.
Yeah, Roberts. And that's going to go all the way out to play for a goal kick. So maybe one last chance for Barnsley. Everyone forward. Collins. He could take it short, but I don't think he's going to. Drives it long. DK wins the flick on. It's going to drop for Woodrow. Woodrow tries to get out of Williams. Picked up by Mawat. Left for Williams again. Williams, now can he get cross in? Williams into the box. It's headed by Helik well wide in the end. And was that Barnsley's last chance?
Yeah, they're starting to put balls in, but they're not really putting it in good enough areas for me. They're still a little bit short of the mark, aren't they, in terms of putting it in, but it's a real good whipped delivery. And Helik has just sort of stayed up there, hasn't he, from centre-back. That's probably what the theme is for Barnsley now. They're just going to have to be more direct and just go to the right, put balls in, because they've been allowed a lot of space down that side. But it's just, apart from that low cross from Williams into Woodrow, it's not really come off for them.
I think the Swansea crowd believe now. Suddenly they're all on their feet, applauding. They think they're there. We've still got a little bit of time to play, but it does look like there will be. Williams comes in with a massive challenge there, and that is going to be, well, it's got to be a yellow card for Williams. Comes flying in. It's a yellow card given against Fulton.
Well, I must admit there, Jack, I didn't actually think Williams caught the man. I thought he actually got the ball. It was a real good, clean challenge. You could just see Fulton going in there, studs up, if you like, catching the ankle of Williams. It's a good decision by the referee.
Everyone's forward now. Collins gets there. Collins thinks he's fouled. Jamal Lowe can bring the ball away for Swansea. He just thumps it down the ground. As the ball, well, Mawat's going to chase after it. Collins is still forward. And there is the full-time whistle, and it is Swansea City into the Championship playoff final after a 1-1 draw with Barnsley. But they go through 2-1 aggregate. It was a brilliant game, to be fair, in terms of action and intensity. Lovely goal by Matt Grimes. Cauley Woodrow gave the Tykes hope, but instead it is Steve Cooper's Swans who will face Brentford for the right to be in the Premier League next season. Final score here at the Liberty Stadium. Swansea City 1, Barnsley 1.
Thank you very much, Jack, and of course Matt, for some excellent commentary. Matt, I think you know what time it is. As people can see across the screen, Championship playoff final, Brentford v Swansea. It's 29th of May, 3 p.m. at Wembley Stadium, which is next Saturday. Matt, the question I'm going to ask for you is man of the match tonight, please.
Well, there was one person in particular I thought really stood out for me, and that was Mark Gurley. I thought it was absolutely exceptional tonight. He had to deal with the three of Woodrow, Adebayo, and Morris, and he had to deal with DK as well when he came on. And, all four of them at times sort of played down the middle, maybe more so, you could say DK and Adebayo in the first half. And they were two very different players, but I thought he was absolutely exceptional. For a young lad who's, in his 20s, to be that far ahead of the game, be so mature for his age, it's unbelievable. And obviously Steve Cooper knows him well from the England setup, and he's getting the best out of him for Swansea. And I think he's been a real key asset for them this season in terms of why they're, of course, in the playoff final and one game away from Wembley. And, of course, a special mention as well to Ben Kabanga, because I thought he was exceptional just as much, but he was a real standout. And I alluded to it on commentary, but if that guy is not playing in the Premier League next year, there's something seriously going wrong with this game, because that guy is going to go a long, long way, believe me.
Yes, thank you very much, Matt. So Margie, the man of the match tonight, and Barnsley in the second half threw everything at it and tried to get back into the tie, but they just fell short of the final hurdle, Matt. And if you just look at it as well, how unlucky were Barnsley tonight and over the two legs in this playoff? And a lot of Barnsley fans who I know said they didn't want Swansea because they're their bogey side, and it's proved to be once again tonight. But how much do you think Barnsley were over the two legs? How do you think they played? And was it just two moments of brilliance, like you mentioned, that knocked them out in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think it was. I think, Swansea, it was Ayew in the first leg who stole the show. And obviously you had Grimes with that wonderful curling effort that, maybe just made it too out of reach for Barnsley, but they made a good fist of it. I said at halftime to you, Russ, and I was saying during commentary, that's what they've got to do. It's their last 45 minutes of the season, potentially in that instance, and they just got to give everything, throw it, really make sure that you can give a good performance and just feel like you've gone down with a fight. And they did that. They did just miss that real bit of quality. If they had DK, maybe fit and firing, he was able to get the best of the two defenders, it might have been different, but they went down fighting. It was a good effort. And, Barnsley and Valérien Ismaël, yes, they haven't gone through to the playoff final to play Brentford and to be in the Premier League, but what they've achieved this season, you cannot take that away from them. They were, in the bottom three when he arrived after Gerhard Struber, who kept them up on the last day of last season. And to do what they've done in 10 months and go from the bottom 4 of the Championship to the top 6 of the Championship is absolutely remarkable. And, they deserve a lot of credit, not just for how they've, been under Valérien Ismaël, but in terms of how they've been over the last sort of 10, 12 months, because it's been a real whirlwind for them. And, they'll certainly learn a lot tonight. They can be proud of how they've played this season and, how they've managed to get themselves into the playoffs.
Yes, absolutely, Matt. And before I move on, I just want to ask you, and then I'll ask Jack as well. My next Saturday, Brentford Swansea, one off 90 minutes, could be 120 minutes, depending on how the result is at Wembley Stadium. Which way do you see the Championship playoff final going next Saturday? Will it be Brentford who get promoted to the Premier League, or will it be Swansea City back in the big time? Who do you reckon is going to get there next week? And will it be in normal time, or will it go all the way to extra time and maybe even those dreaded P words? And I'm talking about penalties.
Yeah, I know exactly what you meant, Russ. Don't worry when you were saying about the P word, but it's very, very interesting, isn't it? If you're talking the tactics in terms of matchup, they are kind of completely different. Brentford thrive on the attacking side of the game. With Swansea, they're very much a side who sort of emphasise on building from the back and using the pace of Lowe and, the quality of Ayew to sort of get them through games. And they're a more well-balanced side. That's what makes them tick. That's what makes them stand out. If you're talking about a one-off game, it is anybody's, isn't it? There's no clear winner. There's no definitive winner in this instance. And I think both sides can hurt each other. But going on first feeling and early impressions, I just got a little hunch for Swansea. And, yes, Brentford are a dazzling side to watch, but are, they quite capable of how Swansea, we know they can play. They can be very tight, very defensive. Do they have the ability to really break them down? Because as we know, Swansea's 2 centre-backs, as they perform tonight, they're going to take some serious stopping if they are to lose the game on Saturday. But I think Swansea will just squeeze it, but it is too close a game to call.
Yes, and Jack, you've just said what Matt thinks there, who's going to go through. Would you agree, or would you say, or do you think Brentford's going to do it? Or do you reckon he's going to do it next Saturday at Wembley Stadium?
Well, I think either way it's going to be a really close game because, the stakes are so high. I wouldn't be surprised if one goal settles it. I think Brentford are going to do it. I think they didn't turn up last year against Fulham, really, and they were brilliant last season throughout the league. They've managed to overcome, they were 2-0 down. Well, they were 2-0 down on aggregate today. They turned it around. I think they've got more leaders in the team this year. Like Janssen is fit, for example, and he is a leader as much as he's got maybe his flaws. So for me, I do think we're going to have the Bees in the Premier League. When you've got the likes of Ivan Toney as well up front, yeah, Swansea a good side, very good side, and they deservedly got there to the final. But yeah, I think Brentford are going to do it.
Yes, so 1-2 close score. One thinks Brentford. If I were to put my neck on the line, I'm going to say it's going to be a close one. Going to go all the way to penalties, and I think Swansea may just do it on penalties next Saturday. But it'd be interesting to see how that Championship player final pans out next Saturday, and we'll hopefully bring you commentary on that one next Saturday here on the Commentary Hub. So for myself, and from Matt, and from, of course, your match commentator Jack Cunningham, Matt and Jack Cunningham, and myself, Russ Vernon, thank you very much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the two commentary matches from the playoff matches we brought you today. But from us all, until next time, thank you very much for listening, and we'll be back again real soon. Congratulations to Swansea, commiserations to Barnsley, congratulations to Brentford, commiserations to Bournemouth as well from earlier on today. We'll see you, and also congratulations to Lincoln, commiserations to Sunderland as well, and from all of us here. Thank you very much for listening. Good night.